Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Richard Lewis Show. I'm your host, Richard Lewis. Today, I have got a guest, somebody who I respect immensely, and somebody who has been in the news for a variety of crazy reasons. You will know him as Count Dankula. He is a YouTube content creator who found himself in trouble with the law because he taught his pet pug, who you will be able to hear breathing in the background during this interview because pugs live a life of pain, for teaching it to do the Nazi salute and put it on YouTube. And this was deemed to be a hate crime. It's a mad story, but we're going to come to that in a moment. Anyway, Marcus, thanks a lot for coming on the show. Let's just start by talking about this fundraiser. We managed to, we had a fundraiser for you because of the situation where you'd been declined for legal aid, and a bunch of the skeptic community kind of came together on YouTube. We set up a You Caring link, and I thought it was going to be a bit of a slog, to be honest with you, Marcus. I thought we were going to really fucking struggle to get to the £12,000 target. We smashed it in under 24 hours.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that either. That was the thing, is even when I was to tell the actual story, see when my lawyer actually told me that, this was after 2 appeals. He went, your legal aid application has been fully declined, so you will have to come up with the money yourself. And I walked out of my lawyer's office with a face like an absolute ghost. I was in the car with my dad, and I was just sort of staring at the dashboard, just totally non-responsive, just thinking to myself, I'm screwed. How the hell am I supposed to come up with that amount of money in less than a month? But then the fundraiser started, and I thought that kind of picked me up, going, it's fine, I've got a month, this will definitely help towards it. But the fact that the target got achieved in less than 24 hours, I completely did not expect that. I actually sat there, nobody believed me. I told my mum, my dad, I told my girlfriend, and they were all like, no, that's not true. And I was like, I realise how absolutely ridiculous that sounds, but that actually happened less than 24 hours. I still kind of can't really believe it myself, if I'm being honest.
Well, look, I think the reason why it happened is because I think, especially for an internet community, right, we can all imagine being in your position, which is, I do a fucking podcast regularly. It's not a huge audience that follows it. It's about 20,000 to 30,000 people watch it religiously, and I make edgy jokes. And I'm in a position, I work for an American TV company. I'm sure we have PR guys combing through all of my stuff all of the time. And if I upset anybody for something I say, there's a chance I could lose my job. I would lose my visa, and then I imagine have to go back to the UK, and then probably, as it seems to be the norm, be charged with hate speech. Yeah. And it's so absurd because they're using a law that's there to stop radical preachers or fascists or hardcore white supremacist neo-Nazis. They're using a law that's there to stop those people gaining a foothold in society to put you in jail for making a fucking joke about a dog.
Yeah. It's a case of, a lot of people have complained about the extreme PC culture of Britain and how so many huge things in society itself and media as well is being changed to sort of appease these people who are an extraordinarily small group. The people who are professionally offended. People just love to talk about how offended they are. But I'm amazed that such a small group, over something as small and basic as their feelings, can actually have such a pull over an entire society, to the point where certain movies can't be shown. They can get newspapers to completely withdraw articles and stories. They can get a new budding series that's just launched to completely shut down. And everything, and it's literally all over feelings. It's literally all over that.
What do you think the impetus is for the companies that do that, though? Because it's not money. Because I'll tell you something about this audience of the terminally offended. They don't spend money. What they do is they might donate once to a cause. They might buy a mug that says, white tears on it or something. But outside of that, their level of engagement and investment is low. They'll move on to the next scandal. They'll move on to the next cause to be terminally offended. So it can't be money, right? Or do you think it is?
I think it's mostly image. It's literally just all about image. No company or industry or anything like that wants to be recognised as an intolerant, hateful, racist, even though the things that they put out totally aren't that. I think they do kind of understand that the far left, or a lot of people are calling them the alt left. Now they really don't enjoy that name, but
no.
They basically lie. They lie an awful lot. If something is a little basic thing, they specialise in creating mountains out of molehills, and I think that a lot of companies know that they have that power. When something isn't even racist, isn't even that bad, they can twist it into looking extremely racist and looking extremely bad, and they know that they can get public support to hate on a company if it's been branded the horrific term of intolerant. And I think it's a case of they know that, and they know that them being branded as that can actually harm business, even if the brand has no basis in reality at all. So a lot of them are just quite happy to just totally change the rules, change these things, not because they actually believe it, but just because they just purely want to protect their image. I mean, it's a survival mechanism in my eyes, just to sort of, it's to protect the company's image and protect the company and sort of screw what happens to society in the process.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Jon Ronson, the journalist? I'm sure you are. He's a Welsh boy. And I plugged his work a lot on the show. He wrote the psychopath test. But he also, you should check him out. I'm sure you'll find him fascinating. First, the psychopath test was a book he wrote about how easy it was to be classified as a psychopath. And also it was in particular about a story about a person who wanted to test the limits, got sectioned and then couldn't get out.
Jesus,
even when they were saying, no, it's all a ruse, they were like, yeah, well, you would say that if you were mentally ill, wouldn't you? And so you should look upon that, because that's like a Kafkaesque nightmare, like your life is right now.
Yeah.
But on top of that, he wrote a book called "You've Been Publicly Shamed," and it looks at all of these, instances where social media outrage has completely stripped people of their lives. And I've recommended this a few times on the show. But basically, I mean, you would be fodder for this. You would be perfect, because it's this faux outrage. One of the women that he profiled in it was, she made a joke. She came back from a holiday to Africa, and someone asked if she'd got AIDS. You remember her?
Yeah.
And she said, no, I didn't get AIDS because I'm white.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which is that's a play on words of white privilege, though, right?
Yeah,
it's not being racist.
Yeah, I think it's the fact as well. Obviously, any scientist will tell you that a white person can still get AIDS. We kind of actually have a huge problem with that. And especially
out,
in the 80s.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But she lost her job. She was called a racist and all that, even though the joke, was specifically kind of poking fun at the idea that, for me, again, I interpreted the joke as poking fun at racism itself. I grew up in an era where we were told that AIDS was created because an African man had sex with a monkey, for fuck's sake.
I remember that. Yeah. I think it's more a case of, even if someone does hold a harsh sort of opinion, that isn't any reason to take their livelihood away from them. I remember there was a newspaper article I actually read a while ago, basically encouraging employers to actually fire racists. I don't know if specifically they meant racists, because we all know that racist is a pretty blanket term that's completely veered away from the original definition. But they were actually saying that anyone who holds racist sort of opinions should be fired from their job. Now, it's a case of, if they are fired from their jobs, they can claim benefits. So basically it means if you hate the racists so much, all you're going to do is basically get rid of a massive part of the workforce, and then they go on benefits for the rest of their lives. And so the taxpayer pays for the racists for the rest of their lives. And that's something that's obviously not been thought through. Yeah. It's just the fact is even if someone was a Nazi, everyone still has a right to earn a living for themselves. Everyone still has a right to contribute to society, have a job, pay their taxes, pay their bills. Everyone still has a right to do that. You can't take that away from them. But see, when it's called, the term's called breaking your rice bowl. And It's a case of, if there's someone that they don't like and don't like their opinions, what they'll then do is attack their income. to sort of act as a detriment to that person, like we just seen when Anita Sarkeesian tried to get Sargon's Patreon investigated.
Yep.
Like we've just seen, that's just, you know, it's an extremely underhand method, and it's quite scummy in my eyes.
I'll tell you as well. I'll bet you a fucking a bottle of Bell's, the finest of whiskies. I'll bet you a bottle of something that the guy who worked for Mike that wrote that article, because it took one look at him, he looks like the classical feminist ally. You've only got two kinds of feminist ally. You got the fucking guy who's straight up and down like a fucking glass of milk with the fucking hipster specs and the fucking, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then you got the other one, the fat, beardy, bald, goony man who couldn't get laid any other way, so he plays the odds, right?
You mean Kevin Logan?
Yeah. But you know, like I would bet you that guy actually took it upon himself to go out to Patreon. He said, we contacted Patreon for comment. I would bet you that Patreon weren't conducting an investigation, and a journalist like him, if not him, said to Patreon, what are you going to fucking do about it?
Yeah.
Because that's how it operates now. And this activism that we see from journalists against these perceived thought crimes and which, you know, they term them hate crimes. We're really talking about thought crime ultimately.
Yeah.
You know, they use their platform and their voice now to go after people, which is against, you know, somebody that is a journalist. You know, it's against what you do. You've got to have a very good reason to go after somebody. And again, I fucking loathe racists with every fiber in my being. I can't really associate with them. But you know, it's like you say, if someone says something that's borderline or something that clearly was meant to be a joke and it just goes a bit wrong, I don't think you should be breaking somebody for that.
Yeah. Like, the thing is, I work in the security industry, and I can assure you there's no shortage of racists like in the security industry. But a lot of them that I've spoke to, like, obviously I don't share their opinions or their values or anything like that in any way. But see, when you actually have a conversation with them, a lot of people try and paint racists as you know, genocidal maniacs that want to wipe everyone out. I've met one, but I've yet to meet, you know, a large number of racists that actually want, you know, to kill other races or anything like that. A lot of the racists I've actually spoken to hold very alt-right style sort of views, where they've got their country, we've got ours, and just leave each to their own. Like, that's the way that they feel about it. But and
obviously I hate segregation, but the left are preaching that now.
Don't mix cultures.
Because white people are so evil. You know, you've got to have black. Right, universities in America are doing black-only graduations.
I've seen that. I've seen the teacher, the professor, actually getting screamed at in the face off of all these students because he refused to leave campus for the day because of the colour of his skin and everything. So this is a guy, like, what I know the thing is, see if something like that happened, like, say, back in the 60s. You know, the white person, a black person stood their ground against all the racists telling him, get the hell off campus. They would have been praised as a hero. But now there's a white person that's doing it. Oh, you evil Nazi! You like that. Like that's the thing.
But again, like, you know, anyone who's followed the civil rights movement, anyone who just knows, you don't even need to be steeped in the history, steeped in the struggle to realize this isn't what it was about. It wasn't so, you know, 50 years later, 60 years later, we could roll it back and be segregated again. That wasn't what Martin Luther King was saying in his speech, was it? It wasn't one, you know, I have a dream one day that my kid will, you know, walk hand in hand with a white child and they will be equals and judged on the content of their character for 50 years. And then we start, you know, ignoring each other again because, you know, fuck white people. You know, that isn't what he said, was it? You know, and even fucking Malcolm X came round. You know, even the more radical people. So it seems crazy to me that people can, like, have the lack of self-awareness to espouse these values.
I think it's more a case of a lot of them are extremely misinformed, and they are young kids. So Sargon sort of made a comment that I thought was very good. It was along the lines of, we know that we have a collective age of 22, but we really feel like we know how to run the country. Like that type of stuff. It's just that the case is segregation. I'm completely against. There shouldn't be a black only day on campus. There shouldn't be a white only. It's just a case of like we get painted as alt-right racist, white supremacists. I got called a white supremacist today by a lot of Tariq Nasheed's fans and everything as well. But it's just a case of, see, if anything, I feel like I'm a lot less racist than the left because I don't want segregation. I don't want culture. Like, see how if you want to put cultures together, everyone white and black and brown and everybody else should all be living together, well then you have to let the cultures mix. It's a case of anybody else can do what they want, but as soon as a white person tries to take part in the very thing that you're trying to encourage, you scream cultural appropriation and tell us to stop. What the fuck are we supposed to do? Stop changing the goalposts. It seems like the entire game's been rigged so that no matter what the filthy white man does, we're wrong.
Yeah, but I've seen this happen a lot, and you know, there comes a tipping point, right, where like there's definitely something to be said for the disenfranchisement of certain races and certain marginalized groups within society. It still seems incredible to me that, for example, we're celebrating gay marriage being made legal in Germany today. Like, why hasn't that already happened? You know, it's such an absurdist position to be against gay marriage. You know, I can't even sign off on the whole. It's it's my religious belief. Like, no one's asking you to perform the fucking ceremony. No one's asking for your church to be. You're not involved. It's a state thing. That's why people get married. It's about the state. It's about tax breaks and legal stuff. It's got fuck all to do with God, Jesus, or any other freaky motherfucker you want to bring to the party.
Yeah,
but so I understand. Like, again, we're a similar age, and fucking we remember, law that stopped openly gay people being teachers.
Yeah,
we
used to hang gays quite recently as well. I mean, even look at what we did to Alan Turing, the guy who helped crack the grandfather of computing. Yeah, he broke the Enigma code and everything like that, and then he was hailed as a hero right up until everybody found out he was gay, and then he got absolutely disgraced by the papers to the point where it drove him to suicide. Like, that's obviously completely, absolutely backwards thinking, and I'm happy it's in the past, and I'd like to see it stay there.
Yeah, but that's the thing, isn't it? It's what happens is people come out to try and fight those old battles, right? Which I think have been fought and won. I think homophobes are in the minority now. Maybe I'm wrong, but I believe that's my experience. I think people who want to coming out the closet is a lot less of a big deal now than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Yeah. It's been getting easier year upon year. And it's the same with all these, any group that feels like it's marginalized by society. I think we're in a place now where we're more receptive, but because those groups are pissed off about the past, and rightly so, there's elements within that group that want to fight back and put the boot on the other foot. And it's like the politics of revenge. And it's a super dangerous, slippy road to go down.
It's like the case of, as well, as I've made this joke, not really a joke, I made this assessment before where I says, see how you've seen the way that what's happening at the rallies where the left and Antifa would turn up and throw fireworks and bottles and hit people with bike locks and all kinds of stuff as well. I've said this on streams, I'm like, it's only a matter of time before someone dies. Someone will get killed at one of these rallies. And look what happened. I think it was the ginger guy, private security, gets stabbed 9 times and everything. It was almost him. And it's going to be someone from the right or someone from the left. Someone is going to die, and the media are going to proper run with that, and it's just going to make things 100 times worse. Like, it's just the fact it's violent. The right is getting to the point where, we need to defend ourselves. We need to defend ourselves, and I get that. I completely understand that, but a lot of people will try and use the defence excuse as a justification for doing some pretty fucking extreme things. A lot of open carriers go to these events now with firearms and stuff like that. And if someone from the left, rushes at them with a bike lock, they are within their right to defend themselves. I don't want that to happen. It's basically see as soon as anything resorts to violence, it's no longer a fucking debate. It's just people being fucking barbarians and being animals. Like, that's not how democracy is won. Because see if there's two ideologies facing off, right, and against each other, at that point it totally doesn't matter who is right or what is better for society. All it matters is who is stronger, right? And that does not in any way benefit the whole. Right.
And let's be clear, almost every oppressive regime that's ever existed operates on the premise that might is right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the kind of company that you're in. And you're right, dude. I mean, obviously I live in America now, and I've been keeping an eye on all of these rallies, and I got to say, I watched, in the build up to the Trump being elected, story after story, people pulling the fucking signs out and damaging property, people attacking people for wearing MAGA hats. It was happening every week, and the mainstream media didn't really seem to give two fucks. You were having to rely on alternative sources to really put this out there. And then as soon as something happened at a Trump rally, when of course it was recorded, members of the some of the super PACs that helped the DNC were recorded saying, we send mentally ill people to these events to act as agitators. Yeah. And because it was a Project Veritas video, it was ignored because James O'Keefe has definitely strayed from the journalistic path once or twice, putting it mildly. People ignored it, but I mean, that's still, even in isolation, even out of context, that's still a confession of something incredibly serious. And then obviously that thing happened at a rally, and Donald Trump said, I'll pay for your legal fee if you rough him up. And everyone went mental saying, wow, look at this violent rhetoric on the campaign trail. It's I don't know if they missed it, but the campaign trail was inherently fucking violent. If you were a Trump supporter, you were taking your life in your hands. I got a friend who lives here in Atlanta. They openly support Trump, and I'm saying all the time, please don't wear a MAGA hat, please. I don't want to be there when you get attacked, dude. I don't want that shit.
It's the fact is that someone can actually be just beaten up and assaulted simply for having an opinion. You've not committed any actions, you've not done anything bad, you just have thoughts that these people do not like. You're literally being attacked for wrongthink. That's literally what it is. It's a case of, if you are unhappy with the way that the election went, well, I'm sorry, but tough shit. That's what democracy is. And I'm sick of people always preaching about democracy, but then complaining about it when it doesn't go their way. It's just that under a democracy, you don't get your way all the time. I wanted Scotland to be an independent country. We lost the vote for that, right? Yep. But it's a case of, I can turn around and go, oh, that's bad and everything, but it was a democratic vote and I have to respect that. But see, even all these people just now about Brexit, it was a democratic vote. We democratically voted to leave the European Union, and everyone is saying, no, we're not doing that, and they're trying to go against democracy itself. Whereas, if it was around the other way and everything, basically, there's a lot of double standards from people that are speaking about stuff like that. But it's just more of the fact is, and one thing that has scared me as well with the violence at these rallies is a lot of people are actually using the dehumanization tactic, the same tactic that the Nazis themselves used against the Jews or homosexuals or gypsies or anybody like that. Basically, they're not really human, they're not really people, they are bad. Every single one of them are bad. So you can say and do whatever the hell you want to these people because it's all right, you shouldn't feel bad, they're not really human, right? Which is why a lot of people felt justified in the way that they treated these people. And the left do the exact same thing, except in this instance it isn't against races or sexuality or anything like that. It's against people that simply think differently. Yeah. And I think that's horrifying.
That's what makes me laugh as well, man. The idea that a Scottish person who has been brought up, surrounded by sectarian hatred, would ever espouse hatred for another religious group. You don't have to go too deep on this, but I know from all my other Scottish friends, everyone's got a fucking a loved one who got stabbed or sometimes even murdered over the fucking Protestant Catholic divide in that country. And it's not just something that revolves around football. It's what estate you live on. It's what pub you're drinking. What fucking color car you have. It's everywhere, and they've tried to do something about it, but it's been a blight on Scottish society for a long fucking time.
The thing is, it definitely is still there. sectarianism. It definitely is still there. Like, I work as a bouncer. I actually worked for a Catholic pub,
right,
as well. So obviously there was a lot of stuff like that there. And I live in and I've grew up here in Coatbridge, which actually has the nickname Little Ireland. And we actually do have Catholic and Protestant areas. And I grew up in a heavily Catholic area. My mum and dad live in the most Catholic area of Coatbridge. And I've seen it happen so many times. Like, whenever it's you've heard of the old firm day when Celtic play against Rangers, and the Coatbridge, just it's honestly like it's martial law has been declared. There's people scrapping, fighting all over the streets, bottles getting thrown and everything. A lot of people will go, "Oh, the old firm's on. I'm not going outside today," and everything like that as well, because of how bad it is, and it's over something so fucking stupid. So I think it's because of that type of thing. They think that they need to apply like the laws. They have some serious sectarian laws. If you sing, one of the sectarian songs at a football match, you will be arrested and everything as well. But it's like the case of, I think they think that, see, if they allow any kind of that behaviour, even if it's jokingly, like I know people that there was Celtic and Rangers fans in this pub, and they were singing the songs at each other, but they were all friends and everything, so they sang the songs as just a haha, we're all friends here. The cops came in and actually gave them all tickets, like fines, for singing those songs, and they're all sitting there like that, we're friends, we're just ribbing each other for a joke and everything, and they still all got fines for singing those songs. And it's just a case of you can't even joke about it anymore. Like, it was a huge problem. It is going away. It's nowhere near as big as what it used to be, especially back in the heyday of football hooliganism. But I think it's a case of, they think if they allow even jokes about a certain thing, that I think the police actually thought that my video was going to create more Nazis. They said a few things to me that suggested they actually thought that I was going to create Nazis with my video.
Yeah, you said that, didn't you? One of the arresting officers sort of said, he gave you some lecture about how because you're trivializing Nazis, you're recruiting them or something.
He says that my video could actually inspire people to become Nazis and think that Nazism is cool. And I was just sort of looking at him like, are you serious? Like that, I just went, well, if my video could have turned someone into a Nazi, then imagine what would have happened if the person watched one of Hitler's actual speeches, which are all on YouTube, or one of those, millions of History Channel programs that they run about Hitler. Yeah. I went, or you could just go on Amazon right now and buy Mein Kampf.
That's what I mean. Yeah, what better recruitment tool than the Führer in his own words, right?
But this is the thing, is like one thing that I'm not happy about. A lot of them were trying to say that I was normalising Nazism and all that kind of stuff as well. Anyone with half a brain cell knows that definitely isn't what I was doing. But the thing that I have been annoyed about is see how what happened to me, where I made a joke about the Jews and I got arrested and I'm getting dragged through the courts. A lot of people who are actually on the white supremacist Nazi leaning side are actually using that information to push their narrative of, it's the Jews doing this. Isn't it strange he's like, legal aid got declined? Isn't it strange that they keep pushing the trial back? All this kind of stuff. They're actually using that to push the Jews control everything narrative and all that as well. But the thing that makes me more annoyed as well is the papers are going, oh, he's spreading Nazi propaganda, he's doing all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. But I was like, no one knew about this until you wrote about it. One of the newspapers, the Daily Record, has the video hosted on their website. It's still there. Yeah. Like, if you actually go on the Daily Record article, it's still there. Doesn't link to the original YouTube video though, so they're kind of using my copyrighted content. But it's a case of they're doing the exact same thing that I did by showing this apparent media in a large publication. So I'm just sort of, it's the Streisand effect, like, to a huge degree.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. When you're oversensitive on a group's behalf, it does create this resentment towards that group from people who perceive it to be unfair, what's happening to you. Now, I don't know if you know the French comedian Dieudonné Mabala. You know this guy?
No.
So I'll tell you about this guy. He is a French comedian who is, I think it's fair to characterize him as an anti-Semite. I don't think he likes, certainly he's very anti-Israel. And sometimes when you're against Israel, and the line blurs. You start talking about the Jews, and then you're now saying anti-Semitic stuff. I think you can hold the position of being anti-Israel and not being anti-Semite, but a lot of people who are anti-Israel happen to be anti-Semites. So this guy Jon Ronson in like 2015, he did a show where what he wanted to do, and he had like ties to Charlie Hebdo and that sort of thing. He did a show where he was criticizing the Jews, and what he did was he said, you can't do anything that criticizes them, so we have to sort of do it in a code. And he invented something which he called the quenelle, and the quenelle is an inverted Nazi salute, like this, right? Now, it means nothing. His point of the material was, watch what happens. You can never criticize the Jews. They won't let you do it. You will be dragged through the courts. You will be arrested. You'll go to jail. You can't do it. So surely what you do there is you point out how he's, an anti-Semite, and it's ridiculous that anybody could be bigoted in any way, shape, or form. And you leave him there and you let him get on with it. And that's it. But no, lo and behold, true to everything he said would happen as part of the comedy show, they arrested him. He went to jail over it. He was banned from coming to the UK. And he insists he's not an anti-Semite. He's just trying to show the power. He said that famous quote, like, if you want to know who controls society, look at who you cannot insult. Yeah. Right? And anyway, it really blew up because a footballer who you might remember, Nicholas Anelka, he used to play for Arsenal.
That gave salutes.
He did the quenelle. He did the quenelle. Yeah. Now, let's be clear. There is no historical significance to this at all. He just said, look, I've invented this. I'm going to say it's an anti-Semitic pose, but it's not. There's no history to it. It's literally just doing this, right? So he said that I'm inventing this, and watch how people lose their shit over it. And then people started taking photos of it like they were going to synagogues and doing it. And then it just got on the French state's radar, and he goes to prison. And Nicholas Anelka did it after scoring a goal, right? In a fucking Premier League match. Yeah. And everyone just lost their fucking shit saying, how can he be anti-Semitic? And Nicholas Anelka came out and said, I'm doing it to show support for Jon Ronson because I think his free speech is being impacted. Nicholas Anelka, his career took a real downward fucking spiral after that. Now, again, I obviously don't believe in anti-Semitic conspiracies because I'm not mentally ill, right? But, you're right. The people who want the susceptible to believe this narrative take shit like what's happening to you, take shit like what happened to Jon Ronson, and they fucking will put it out there and use it as propaganda.
Yeah. I think it's mostly a case of see how in that the reason that they say there's a lot of people who you aren't actually allowed to specifically criticise, and I think a lot of people there is a bloodline between free speech. I think that what the police in England actually use is if I say something, for example, I hate Muslims, the police can go, whatever, that's fine, right? Apparently that's meant to be the law. You're allowed to express an opinion. See if I say I'm going to punch a Muslim, that's when the police would then get involved because that is a direct threat of violence.
No, right? But I think that's fair enough, right?
Yeah, I would think that was fair. If you were encouraging violence and everything as well, like, the radical hate preachers you get in mosques, kill the kuffar, like, then obviously I would understand the police want to get involved in that. But it's a case of now saying I hate Muslims can get you arrested. You can get arrested for that, and it's a case of that is when you are attacking an opinion, you're attacking wrong thinking. The reason that I have a huge problem with people having that opinion getting arrested is one thing that you will definitely never be able to kill is an opinion or an ideology. You will never be able to get, no matter how many people you arrest, you will never be able to kill it. And the thing that makes me actually worried is the fact that if actual racists and everyone can't, express their opinion, they're still going to have it. They're just going to hide it. They're only going to talk about it with like-minded people, and they're going to be behind this big wall where we don't know who they are, we don't know where they are, we don't know what they're doing, what they're planning, or anything like that at all. And the example I always use is you could have 6 people running for Prime Minister. A few of them could be absolute out-and-out racist. They just won't voice it. One of them could be literally the next fucking Hitler, and you might even vote for them. And then as soon as they get power, they're going to start making some big changes that's why I think it's important that people should be able to voice those opinions so that we know who they are. Because see, if someone who holds an opinion feels victimized against and they're not allowed to express their opinion, then they're going to end up like that's how like rebel and terrorist cells are formed, and that is when you will actually see a rise of right wing terrorism, like we've seen at the mosque attack in Finsbury Park. And everything as well. I think, see, if we actually try and ban the opinion, arrest these people for having that opinion, we're going to get more attacks like that. That's what my big problem is. I want to know who the racists are. I want to know what they're up to, and I want to know what their fucking plans are.
This will blow your mind, because the guy who did that attack in Finsbury was from Wales, right? And we know Wales quite well. That's where I've lived. Sam lives there now. But Sam, right? So what was the fucking story about this guy? Well, because he drove up in a van.
All right, yeah, he did a van from like Pontyclun van hire or something like that, Ponty somewhere.
Yeah. And
then drove up to London and drove into like a crowd of people in front of a mosque.
Right, yeah, but then the kicker is this.
Yeah, so I read, hang on, let me look up the story so I can get it exact. But basically, so he hit one person, and the person he hit was having a heart attack as he hit them. So they have to figure out if he killed them, or they just had a heart attack and were already dead, and if he just ran over a dead body.
Oh my god.
This is how dumb racists are. They can't even get their attacks right.
Yeah.
I'm searching it out, but I'm pretty sure that is true.
Jesus.
Yeah, running over someone who's already dead from a heart attack. Well done. You've beat the system. Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I heard that story. It's so ridiculous.
Because it says man who died of multiple injuries.
Mm. So yeah, one of the parts of that cunt's trial is that they're going to have to decide whether or not he actually murdered the person.
That's going to be interesting.
And again,
I'm being honest.
Yeah, I know that's madness, isn't it? But again, I've got to say, one of the things that came out about that is, it just shows how these people, they are just fucking idiots. Imagine being this failure of a person. You hire a van, you drive up, you get to a mosque. You run it into a crowd of innocent people doing absolutely nothing, and then you apparently, I think he wanted to die or something.
Yeah, he was begging, saying, "Kill me, kill me."
Yeah, so he wouldn't have to face the consequences, and an imam saved his life.
Yeah, they were saying, "Don't touch him." I've seen the footage of that. They're saying, "Don't touch him, don't come near him," and they just held him there until the police got there. Yeah, I've seen that.
So what you've done there is completely contrary to your hateful agenda. You've actually helped. You've actually proven that an imam at the mosque values your life, all life as being sacred.
Yeah.
The story does say, by the way, let me confirm that they think it's because he had a weak leg, not a heart attack, but we'll see.
All right, okay.
I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, there was someone. He was already on his, already having problems apparently. But anyway, so look, I definitely agree. I think what's happening to you is a fucking disgrace, and a lot of the skeptic community that have picked up the story have kind of speculated about the precedent it would set. Now, again, you'll have a better understanding of this than I will. Has anyone been prosecuted in this manner in Scotland using these laws before you?
It was actual genuine hate. They were actually saying actual hateful things and stuff like that. The most common one, I swear to God, there's probably so many occurrences of this exact same event. Now, a lot of the people that own local convenience stores in Scotland are of Pakistani or Indian or Middle Eastern descent, around about that area. And what will happen is a drunk guy will go into the shop, try and buy booze. He'll be refused to buy booze, and the guy will start shouting a bunch of racist shit. That, I can assure you, that probably happens daily all over Scotland, and that's when hate crime laws get applied. But as far as someone getting arrested for joking about it, I think I'm the first, but I don't know. But I think it was Heat Street that says that I could be the first Scottish comedian jailed for a joke.
Yeah.
Like that.
It's crazy, man. I honestly, do you think, because look, I don't believe you're going to jail, brother. I thought, no. Listen, I know you're a tough guy, and worked as a doorman and all that. And look, British prisons are nothing like American prisons. You're not going to have to join the fucking Aryan Brotherhood just to survive. You're not going to get raped on day one to establish dominance. You're not going to have to put Kool-Aid on your lips and walk around holding someone's pocket, like a fucking prison wife. It's not like Oz. We're not complete animals. But I did think it was a bit weird. Like there was almost like some ghoulish. We were on that stream the other day. People going, "Oh, well, when you go to jail, like I look after your YouTube channel." We're like, "Hang on, lads."
That's all jokes. I know that's all.
No. I know it's banter, but like, I don't think you're gonna go to jail, because I honestly think if you look at it in the cold light of day, what that opens, the Pandora's box that opens, is terrifying.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that the most likely scenario, again, this all depends on the judge. A lot of people were saying that the type of judge that I should be looking for is one of the old school judges, a guy that's been in the game for a very long time. Because a lot of judges are concerned, will the papers be angry about this? Will papers be angry about this? Like they worry about the public reaction to their decision. But the old school, hardcore judges are the ones that are like, my decision's my decision. I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. Like that. Apparently, I would have been much better with one of those guys, because those guys are hardcore. They don't care what people think. But a lot of people are saying that the new wave judges are worried about their image, and they're saying sort of things along the lines of, but if I find him not guilty, then I'll annoy these people. But if I find him guilty, I'll annoy these people. So what I'll do is I'll find him guilty, but I'll give him a slap on the wrist. Like that type of thing. But it's a case of, even if he finds me guilty and gives me no punishment whatsoever, I've still got hate crime on my record for the rest of my life, which basically declares me unhireable for the rest of my life. And that's the area that I'm most worried about, because the thing is, I want to work. I'm desperate to have a fucking normal job. I just want to have a job that I can pay my bills, that's not minimum wage. But the only stuff I can get is for people who have criminal histories and stuff like that, and quite obviously those don't pay well. And it's just, I'm educated to university level. I've got a Bachelor of Science degree, I've got an HND and everything, but none of that really matters, and places just don't want to touch me, all because I made a joke, and companies won't hire me again just because they're worried about their image.
But what about? Look, I know this is going to sound a little bit cynical, and that I like to explore things so that people might not go into. But honestly, let's say you go to court, you beat the case, or to slap on the fucking wrist or a fine. And like you say, it's a pain in the ass, because you are going to have that label. You will have to declare it as a conviction, etc. But that being said, you've gained a lot of attention, as a result of this. And look, some people have spun worse things into careers. You think about the average fucking pleb that goes on Big Brother and sticks a wine bottle inside of them, and and they seem to go on and do other things just fine. So surely there would be it could be a very good launching pad for you as a content creator, no?
Well, that's what everyone sort of telling me to do. Everyone says life's gave you lemons, so make lemonade. Like everyone's saying that you've got a following on YouTube and stuff like that. Like see how the fact that I'm at about 37,000 subscribers. 37K. That's bonkers to me. That's insane. I was like, I did not ever expect to reach that level and everything. And I have like a following on Twitter and stuff like that. I get people like recognizing me in the street and everyone wanting pictures with me. And I was sort of like, I didn't expect any of this at all. But the thing is with YouTube, like I really do enjoy doing it. And if I can develop it into a bigger platform, and as I've said this before, where if I develop it into a source of income, I'm worried about YouTube will feel more like work than fun. Yeah. Like that's the thing that I'm kind of worried, because I enjoy doing YouTube. I like making videos, but most of all, obviously, I like making people laugh. Hence why I try and make comedic value the center. Yeah,
but not just necessarily YouTube, right? Like, I know it's kind of gone to shit lately, but the Edinburgh Fringe, right?
Yeah,
I reckon you could make an amazing show out of this.
Yeah, no, it's something that I would do. Obviously, I've I've kind of been put on the pedestal as Scotland's free speech guy. I've kind of didn't try and climb there. I kind of get sat on that, but obviously it is a cause like worth fighting for. Like absolutely. Like I know that in the whole spectrum of things, like my case isn't the be all and end all. Like what's happened to me is a symptom of the problem. And it's a case of like, obviously we are doing our best to like deal with my case and everything like that, but the entire thing is much higher than me. It's free speech itself. We need to look at obviously the problems that have caused my situation. That those are the things that need to be dealt with, because freedom of speech is an absolute. It is an absolute, and it's something that absolutely has to be protected. And it's a case of any country that is trying to get rid of free speech itself as a country that's going into a dictatorship. A totalitarian state, because I mean the people like Saddam and Kim Jong Un and all those people, they don't want free speech. They didn't want free speech at all, because if people have free speech, it means they can spread their opinion and rise up against an oppressive government and stuff like that as well. Like that's the thing that worries me. It's a case of if a government attacks free speech, there's a reason, and it's never ever a noble reason.
This is so unique to Scotland, though, right? I mean, if you were an English resident, I'm sure you wouldn't want to be, because obviously fuck the English, etc. But that's another hate speech video for you right there. But if you were living in England, I think you would be okay, right?
I think it's a case of the sectarianism has sort of evolved into not just Catholics and Protestants, but literally any other kind of ethnic group. It's sort of the blanketed it out, and I think it more comes down to the fact that we've got the SNP led by Nicola Sturgeon, and they are lunatic SJWs. So it's a case of, even though Scotland has its own parliament and has its own sort of we can set our own laws and rules and regulations, but a lot of these rules, laws and regulations are dictated by the SNP, because in Scotland they are the dominant party. Like they are the people that everybody most listens to, and they have the most pull, and so they're bringing in these basically regressive laws. Like even I've said before that the actual hate speech laws themselves encourage segregation and encourage hatred, because again, like I was saying earlier, I work in security, I work with a lot of racists, and I have worked with a few people that have actually been convicted under these hate speech laws. Now, them being convicted under these hate speech laws did nothing to prevent their opinions. All it did was fortify it even more. One of them, who actually got charged under a hate speech law, became so fortified in his opinion that he actually joined the SDL to campaign against this very thing. So in my opinion, it makes things worse. And that's the thing, is we've discussed this before, and we're seeing it everywhere, that the actions of the left and their and the things that they want to push for, they don't want to push for freedom, they want to push for obedience to their ideology. And all that's doing is it's actually scaring people to the point where it's making them go further and further right. And a lot of people have actually joined the alt-right because they're afraid of their freedoms being taken away from them. And it's a case of, I know people who actually don't agree with the end game of the alt-right, but they're on the alt-right side because they are pushing for freedom. And it's
this is what I mean, right? It's like you can only look as far as like the next day, tomorrow. You can't look too far into the future. And what I've always done, I've always been a liberal, straight up. I used to voted Labour, used to be a member of the Socialist Worker Party, which I look back and I laugh at how fucking naive and dumb that is. But that was those were my politics. I'd always been staunchly on the left. The idea that I'd ever be in bed with Republicans and conservatives and we would find not just common ground, but I would find their opinion, their position more reasonable. Obviously there's an element of maturity. As you get older, you have a very different perspective. Obviously there's financial incentives. The left want to fucking give away all your money. And that's great when you've got no money. It's not so good when you start earning money for a living and you're getting taxed at 50%, and you think, "Fuck, what the fuck? Hang on a minute." And it does make you revise your philosophy. But most importantly, the left have gone so far deranged when it comes to speech as violence. Push back on freedom of speech. You got people who are against the First Amendment here in America. It actually made me, over the course of the American election, Bernie's a fucking idiot, and I knew there'd be some dirt on him, and he's being investigated now. Those lot always are. But I think out of It was a terrible election for candidates. Let's be clear.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but Bernie at least was talking about tackling some things that I think would have benefited the American people. He also said a bunch of stupid shit. He wants to, break down the banks. Doesn't have a system to replace, the monetary system with idiocy. But Hillary Clinton is like just pure evil in fucking culottes. And shoulder pads. She's just a ball of corruption. I mean, the Clintons.
Yeah,
that's what the Clintons are. Trump is a fucking super wealthy fucking blowhard who I'd always disliked. There's that fucking golf course up in Scotland where he fucked over all the local residents. So plenty of reason to dislike him even from a British perspective. But what I realized was there was only one hardcore group that were out on the streets attacking people, saying that, I have to use the word Z, Zim. This isn't happening. Like, I'm not allowing that, right? That's not.
Yeah.
So if that means I've got to put on a red cap and say, let's make America great again to keep you fucking out, then all right. I guess that's what I got to do.
I think it's just because the fact is, like, see how if someone goes like that, I am gender fluid and I refer to myself as Z and all that stuff. I'm like, you're absolutely free to do that if you want. You can do that. Like, if you want to consider yourself as gender fluid, by all means, go ahead and do that. You have that freedom. But see if someone goes, but you have to address me this way and treat me this way and stuff. That's when I'm like, well, fuck you. No, I don't need to do that. Like, I'm respecting your freedoms, you respect mine. Like, that's the thing that I've always, this totally boggles my mind, is white people are always accused of having privilege. We have all the positions of power, we have this, we have that, etc., etc. But a lot of the people on the left are trying to argue for privileges for minorities, as in we've got things like affirmative action, we've got things like diversity quotas for certain companies and all that kind of stuff as well. So they basically, the far left, like, they don't want equality. They want these imaginary fucking privileges that apparently white people have. They don't want equality. They want to be above. That's what they want. Is the whole, Animal Farm. Some are more equal than others. They're trying to argue the case for equality. It isn't equality. They're trying to get these imaginary privileges that apparently white people have, which would then make them the privileged ones, but apparently they're not the bad guys when they do stuff like that because they're not white.
But I mean, we cover it on the podcast all the time. There was an article just on the Huffington Post that if you have, let's say you have a racial preference while you're dating. Now, again, I've never had that. I can't afford to be that fussy, honestly. But if you've got a racial preference in dating and you're white, and specifically, he was addressing this open letter to gay men, right? Yeah. So, you're already an oppressed group. And now what we're going to say is that you've obtained a bit too much power for yourself. So we're going to start tearing you down, and black is the new gay, and then trans is the new black. We're shifting it all around. And we're going to say that if you want to date, if you only find white men attractive, you're racist, which might be true. I guess it's about how you express it, really. Yeah. If you say I only date white men because they're racially superior to black people, you're a racist. Yes. Yeah. But if you say, I just find it easier to connect with people of similar backgrounds. Maybe I find it a little bit intimidating. I worry I'm going to say the wrong things, or I just avoid it. Is that racist to me? And you're probably not a racist because you are at least meditating and reflecting on negotiating that potential minefield. Now, they then in the same article said if black people only want to date black people, that's not racist. Yeah. And the reason for that is because they've been raised in a country where they're told that they are second class and second rate. So naturally, they'd want to keep to their own. Yeah,
that's the thing is,
I don't even know what to say about this.
They've made the rules of the game that they don't play by themselves. Like the whole thing with Anita Sarkeesian, who was at a panel about harassment, then fucking singles Sargon out in the crowd, harasses him when he did nothing, and then she's trying to play the victim. Like that's the thing, is like they just don't play by their own rules. It's the same as like I said earlier, we want cultures to mix, except the white people. If they do it, we'll scream cultural appropriation. And it is a case of it's getting to the point where I'm looking at it going, this is a racist movement. This is a racist movement where white people are the bad guy. Like, I'm not going to go as far as some people and go the white genocide. The white genocide has begun or anything like that.
I can't deal with fucking race realists and that shit, man.
I've seen those race realists and everyone as well. I've had a good few arguments with them where they go, "Oh, did you know that?" They quoted a country in Africa saying, "Oh, do you know that this country actually has a lower IQ than the rest of the world? What, the country that literally has no educational fucking infrastructure? Of course, it's got a lower fucking IQ, but it's nothing to do with the sheer lack of schools or providing education. It's to do with the fact that they're black. Shit, dog shit.
Madness, isn't it? That's the thing. I mean, like, I struggle with the race realists. That's why I get particularly offended when I get accused of being one, because I think you got to be a fucking moron to classify yourself as a race realist. You're not operating in the realm of reality whatsoever. And this is what I mean. They've proven that race realism isn't a thing. There've been several studies. For example, I think it was. Did you ever read that study about the black American children that got brought up in Germany?
No, I'm not.
So it was during the war. I'll have to find it for you. But basically, what happened was during the war, a few black children got kind of displaced. Vets were out there, and they were the children of one night stands, if you like, between American GIs and German women. When it was liberated from Hitler, and. They did like a study on a control group of them to see whether there would be, any of the societal problems that were affecting the black community in America at the time. Would these children be more likely to commit crime? Would they be less educated? Well, as it turns out, absolutely not. All of these children went on to do very well for themselves, were incredibly high functioning, law-abiding citizens. Everything was better for them. It was nothing to do with race and everything to do with culture and environment. And there's been so many studies that discount this. I'm not talking about small little genetic differences like bone density or whatever. A race realist seems to believe in this fucking pseudoscience, and it's all predicated on like medieval bullshit. Like phrenology or whatever it's called, where you measure skulls.
That garbage. Yeah.
They honestly seem to genuinely believe that black people are inferior on some profound genetic level, and they cite these absolute garbage findings and trends. And it's like you say, everything else screams its environment. Imagine that. What, people in Liberia are more likely to be illiterate, a country that's been fucking torn apart by civil war for decades, has no infrastructure whatsoever. Every time someone tries and fucking starts a school, a band of fucking militants come in and hack everyone to death with machetes. Do you think that might do you really think that's why they're illiterate, maybe? Or is it because they're black? It's absurd, isn't it, that people can hold this position?
I think it's
Nice.
Went full Alex Jones, a little bit of spit in the camera, full immersion.
Wait, I'm gonna clap. Hang on.
There we go.
Is that better?
Yeah, we're good.
I didn't leave a footprint on it.
No, we're good.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I turned in. I channeling my inner adult. Right. So sorry. Go on.
I think it's more of a case of the far right are they're ideologues, a lot like the far left. They're just going to cherry pick facts and information, lie through omission and stuff like that to support the point of view that they want to put across. And the problem is that anyone that does that means that they don't have anything based on logic. They don't have a strong grasp of logic. And one thing that infuriates me to no end is when someone believes something and no matter what evidence you slam down in front of them, they just refuse it. They just don't want to believe any of it. And that can be said for the far left and the far right. They don't care that their stuff is true. They just care that you believe that it's right.
Exactly. That's the common ground. It's like, have you noticed? It's no longer important to prove something. It's you. If you're a good human, you will just believe this.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like with the trans issue. I have absolutely no issue with what people want to do. I don't see why it's so important for members of the right to want to prove that trans people are mentally ill. I don't know why that's so important to them, so important a cause. But equally as well, I don't see why it's so important for the left to have it accepted that there is some sort of empirical, unshakable science about, it's a woman's brain in a man's body or vice versa. Because certainly the more and more we look at the evidence, it doesn't really point to that. That we're not there. Maybe one day we will be, and we'll look back and we'll laugh, and it'll be like the flat Earth theory or whatever. But certainly we're not there yet. But here's the thing: why can't we just let people be fucking people? I never met a trans person, by the way. And again, I mean a legitimate trans person who is just in the process of transitioning. I'm not talking about these people who go to college and then suddenly decide to be one for 2 years and then you know what I mean? Because the trans trend is definitely real.
Yeah.
I'm talking. I've never met, and I know a lot of trans people. I know you do too. I've never met one who wants to go out on a fucking march. They just want to be left alone, left in peace. They want to just fit. They want to just fit in. They're terrified of being noticed a lot of the time. You have to really help bring them out of their shells by and take them places and say, look, I'm not ashamed to be seen with you. You shouldn't feel like that. Let's go out together. It's fucking heartbreaking. But those people aren't the ones marching on the fucking streets and saying, you will use these made up words. They don't want, they just want to be, they want she or he. They don't want Z's femme.
I've had that said to me by so many, a lot of trans people follow me, right? Because I'm sure you've heard of the whole, banging traps thing. I have a penchant for traps.
I've heard about it. But
that's real, by the way. Like a lot of people think it's a meme. It's not. It's real, right?
Well, we'll talk about that in a second then. That's interesting.
No, but it's the whole thing with it is they don't like this spectacle that's been made out of them. They don't like the whole thing. Except trans people shouting it from the mountains and all that, and whenever they turn around and basically say, "Oh, I'm trans," or "What are you? Are you gender fluid, non-binary," and all this kind of stuff, and they go, "Just call me either a man or a woman and fuck off." Yeah. Right? It's just a case of, "Oh, you're trans. Why are you telling people? I don't care. Just let me fucking exist and get on with things like that." Like they don't like it. They fucking hate that. They just want to be considered trans. Like they just want, see for me and see what they want. I want this as a reaction. If you turn around and tell someone that you're trans or you're gay or any of those things like that, the reaction is just, okay, nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit. Like, that's what I want. I want that. I don't want people to see fucking race or fucking gender or any of that fucking bullshit. I just want the reply to be okay. Like, and for people not to give a shit. That's what I want.
That's what I mean. That's why, again, I really do try and judge people on the content and the character. I know it sounds cliche in this day and age to say it, but absolutely. And again, I've seen things where it's like, they keep moving the bar of what transphobia is even. Yeah. So it's like, for me, transphobia is where you actively go after people that are just because they're different to you and you don't want them to have rights in society. You talk about beating them up, perpetrating violence on them. You're an awful human being if you do stuff like that. And like I say, I get a little bit squeamish as well with the people who are just obsessing. They're just mentally ill people who mutilate themselves. They should be locked up until they're better. Like I think people who say that are cunts as well, frankly. But which what I found out when I was writing at Breitbart, there was actually a core element of my audience believed that, and I was like, I used to come on streams and be like, no, I don't believe that, and if you believe it, I think you're a piece of shit. But anyway, I just don't understand. Now it's like, apparently, if I don't want, let's say I didn't want to have sex, let's say I'm not like you, and I don't want to have sex with a transgendered person, right? Apparently, that makes me a transphobe.
It's absolutely in no way up to anyone what you do or do not like. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's the thing is, like, even if someone was a racist and says, I refuse to have sex with a black person because black people are inferior, you can't just turn around and go like, no, tough shit, fuck this black person. Like, you can't do that. That's, like, you can't shame someone for what they like, no matter what their opinion of it is. Like, people are allowed to be attracted to who or what they want. And if there's, areas that they're not attracted to, well, I'm sorry, tough shit. You can't force a person to, like, be attracted to something. Attraction is, an inner thing that's kind of hard to influence yourself. I mean, think about, for example, look at homosexuals that live in Muslim societies. They would love to not be gay. they would fucking love to not be gay if there was anything they could do about it. Like that's the thing is, you know, most of the time they get thrown off the fucking roof.
Exactly. It's still crazy to me as well, by the way, that we try and make arguments about, you know, how progressive some of these countries are. You know, Saudi Arabia on the fucking Human Rights Council, not just on it, the head of the Human Rights Council in the UN. What a time to be alive.
Some of the things is as well is like, in regards to the whole race argument, no races are inferior. Like, it's just total bullshit. There's no argument based on logic that makes it acceptable to hate someone based on their race. It's garbage. It's total trash, right? But when it comes to cultures, now, a culture is something that can be adopted by anyone. It's not a race issue. Sometimes it could be like a national issue. You know, a certain country has a certain culture. It's mostly a nationalist kind of issue. There are some cultures that are just absolute dog shit and need to die. Like, you know, you've heard about the whole term for the Middle East. In the Middle East, there's only one gender, male. Women are property. Like that type of shit. It's like that. That's the thing is as well. Women are absolute second-class citizens in the Middle East. That you can legally beat your wife. You can legally assault a person for disobeying you or talking back to you or anything like that as well. And that's Stone Age bullshit that needs to die. It needs to go. I want absolutely rid of that type of stuff. And it's the fact is that you see feminists creating problems out of just some of the most stupid fucking mundane things. And everyone like they made a giant fucking deal about Wonder Woman. Oh, there's finally a film that depicts a strong, powerful female. Have you never heard of Alien? Like, I love the fucking Alien movies, man. Sigourney Weaver, Ellen Ripley. Like, what? That was 30 years ago. Why didn't that get the praise for feminism and all that? But the fact is, the thing that annoys me the most is you think the gender of the main character's relevant. I don't think it's relevant. I just want a good fucking story. Like, I don't
no, but
care
they prove this time and time again in studies, right? They come out and they say, you know, men won't play games if there's a female protagonist. And then if the game is critically acclaimed, no one gives a fuck. If it's a good game, it's a good game. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? The amount of friends I've got that only play like fucking female characters in games and shit as well. Probably weirdos, but they do it, you know. And it's I don't know. All the narratives seem to get deconstructed the more you look at it. And I said there are genuine problems facing women all around the world. Not being able to control their reproductive cycles in countries where you don't have access to. You know, birth control in countries where men basically sort of keep you chained to a sink, and you know you will knock out a son. I mean, my mother was a teacher, and she was a teacher in an all-girls school, and it was a private school. And she told me about like when she was doing sex education, because my mother is a science teacher. And she said when she did sex education, the first thing that happened was the parents of several Muslim families wanted to pull the girls out of that class. And they had to sit down with them and they had to argue with them that it's actually going to be of greater benefit to them perhaps than anyone else in the class, because we found that in certain prudish communities where we don't talk about sex, they're the ones most likely to fall foul of teenage pregnancy because they don't really know what's going on. So eventually some of them were allowed in, and then my mother showed it to me. I remember it very vividly. They had to label the sets of genitalia with the words of what they all were, and it was fucking all over the shop, man. It was so on the male testicles, they'd written ovaries. Like, how
right.
My mother said she felt so sorry for these girls because they were great girls, you know, and she would talk to them and be like, "What are you going to do when you grow up?" And they sort of had no aspirations because they didn't really realize that they could have aspirations. Yeah. Now, again, I'm not using that to bash on Islam, because I'll find you Catholics that are the same.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but what I will say is, if you care about feminism and you want women to be sort of elevated, if you at least find the places that are pushing them down. Yeah, because it's not our society. It's not the progressive West. It's country, it's other countries abroad. It's groups within our multicultural society that maybe aren't quite as up to speed with liberal values as they could be, if there was a way to communicate them as being positive. But yeah, that always really stayed with me, and this is why, again, I never like to just bash on Muslims. I used to live in Birmingham as well. Again, a lot of my audience want me to come out and do like anti-Islam content and this sort of thing, and it's like, look, I lived in a place where it was all fine. It was totally fine. There was no problems. I lived around the corner from a mosque. I had many Muslim friends. We used to go out to curry houses together, and everything was fine. We used to play five-a-side football together. It's all good. We're just normal people going about their day. I was never worried any of them were going to get suddenly radicalized overnight, and halfway through a game of five-a-side they were going to fucking behead me. Going, never worried about that, mate. Never worried about it. Didn't think it was going to happen. But there were a few people, like one of my neighbors used to let his kids, like they had 3 kids, and it was 2 boys and a girl, and he'd let the boys run fucking riot, and I'd hear him like smacking his wife around and his girl around, and I'd call the police multiple times. Now, I don't know if this is something inherent to the culture like you're talking about, and maybe this is because I never really got to know them, but I heard that and I thought, well, again, people don't talk about the shit that goes on behind closed doors. People don't talk about some of the cultures and belief systems that do marginalize women to the point where, like you say, they're second-class citizens. And I'm not just talking about Islam. Again, I find Catholicism abhorrent as well, honestly.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't know if you're aware of the movie The Magdalene Sisters. That's based on a true story where women who were seen as harlots, I think the girl who was the subject of the story actually ended up. It's basically a nun's coven where they basically whip and beat and abuse the girls into submission to God. It's basically absolute abuse. And I think one of the girls got in there because she literally, I realise a lot of jokes are made about this, but she literally flashed her ankles at a boy.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's how she ended up in there, and she actually ended up writing a book, The Magdalene Sisters, that the movie was based on, and some of the stuff that they actually had to go through there was beyond horrific, and it was in the name of, religion and righteousness. Women are supposed to be these pictures of purity and stuff like that as well, so basically taking away all choice from women and everything as well like that. Religion has a long history of not being very kind to women.
No, it's almost as if that was part of the plan when they were created. It's almost as if that's what it was really about. Like, it was written by a bunch of guys, and they were like, "Okay, well, look, we got to get the numbers up. We got rookie numbers in our little cult right now. So what we need to write some scary stuff about how, like, every time you have sex, a baby's got to come out the end, and you can never abort one. And if you lose
how can we bolster our numbers?
That was it. I'm telling you, I talk about this a lot on the show. I think religion was basically some sort of fucked up combination of health and safety regulation. That's why a lot of religions have taboos about pork, because it wasn't safe to eat back then because of the trichoniosis bacteria.
Yeah.
But taboos about washing and cleanliness. But I also think as well, it's basically a way to proliferate. For your ideology to be the dominant ideology. Back then, it was just a numbers game.
Yeah.
So that's why all religions all say go forth and multiply. I mean, they really fucking mean it.
A lot of the rules regarding religion seems to be a lot of to unify the people of that religion, but also to make sure that religion spreads. Like, for example, under like Islamic law, it says, don't kill other Muslims, and it says, but the Jews and anyone who's not Muslim, fuck those guys, convert or die. Yeah. But that was the thing as well, is like religion, obviously Catholics don't use condoms. You must have babies, lots and lots of babies. And then as soon as the baby's born, there's a baptism. A baby obviously can't make big life decisions, right? So it's a case of you will obey God. I realise that you can't even talk yet. You've no idea what's going on right now. Here's some water dumped over your head. Like that, I don't know.
We've got to get you in the team. We've got to get you in the team. We terrify parents. We say if he's not baptized, when he dies, at best he goes to purgatory.
Yeah.
So think about how crowded purgatory must be. Everyone before Christ is there.
Yeah. You have to obey default. God. You have to obey our God, or you will burn for eternity. That's fucking horrific. That's a horrific thing to tell people.
And you would chance it, wouldn't you? If you were around back then, there's no TV. Nothing to do. That's why it's based around activities and gatherings as well. You see this in Christianity a lot, and again in Islam and Judaism. We base it around shared activities because it's the insidious and pernicious way in which it enters into the collective consciousness. It's very easy to join a club if every Sunday we're all going to get up and put on a bunch of clothes and go sit there and hang out together, and then afterwards we'll all have some delicious tea and lemonade and we all talk and we all hang out. It strengthens the communal bond, and of course outsiders aren't there, are they? Religion is fucking. It's a brilliant marketing concept, basically. That sort of loads of people have the same idea at the same time.
It's based extremely strongly on tribalism. And the thing is, in regards to human nature, tribalism is absolutely everywhere you see it. It can be anything from countries all the way down to like sports teams and everything as well. But like the tribalism is a huge part of human nature because, as a civilization, it's the first thing we did. Before we even grasped how to use basic Stone Age tools, we made tribes. It was the first thing as a race we did. Right, and that's why it's just so prevalent and everywhere you see, and it's just and again we're saying that the left don't want races to mix. They say they're against tribalism, they're encouraging it.
Yeah, of course.
And it's the case, and the whole purpose of tribalism is we're all friends, we're all together, we've all got everyone's back. Fuck everyone who isn't us. That's it.
And not only that though. I mean, you think about what a religion offers somebody. What's the buy-in? What's the whiffum, to use call center terminology? I haven't forgotten about the call center. We'll come into that. What's in it for me? The whiffum. Obviously, it's a holistic approach to life. It gives you it gives you the solutions. It outlines potential problems and tells you how to head them off. And it says, as long as you do all of these things, as long as you adhere to this code, you will not suffer, you will not die. And if you do, if the worst happens, don't worry, we've got this thing called paradise. You're going straight there. It's all gravy. Now, if you look at social justice, and what it does is it says, look, here are the problems, this is how we tackle them, but we can only tackle them this way, and this is why you must obey and follow the social justice warrior movement has way more in common with religion than it does with any political movement.
Now, the thing is, as well, is I know that the far left end of the spectrum are communists. They're supposed to be against religion in its entirety. I mean, the first thing that happened when communists rose to power is a lot of the churches in Russia get scrapped, and everything as well. But it's a case of, but if someone, obviously, a lot of them are like, oh, fuck Christianity, but all these other religions and everything, that's absolutely fine. And now a lot of people, I have said a lot of things about Islam itself, and it's just I feel like, see how Christianity modernized, because there are a lot of things in Christianity that was very, very barbaric that we're not aware of. Like, for example, if a woman cheated on her husband, the punishment under Islam is to be stoned to death. Under Christianity, she was to get her ears and nose cut off. And that happened. Like, that used to happen. And even Christianity also says as well, like, kill witches, kill apostates and all that as well. But obviously Christianity as a whole modernized. We still obviously have those absolute fucking losers in the Westboro Baptist Church. God hates fags. And all that, man. They're
those fucking guys.
Yeah, fucking idiots. Thank God they fell into irrelevancy, by the way. But like, see how there are areas, there are, Muslims that do live over here and they have modernised, they still do Ramadan, they still do all the stuff, they still pray and everything, but when it comes to hating gays or like oppressing women and all that, they're like, right, nah, we're not going to do any of that shit, that's terrible, and everything as well. But there are obviously a lot of areas of Islam that do need to modernise, so it's a case of, it kind of falls into my philosophy of, if what you're doing isn't hurting yourself or other people, go nuts. That can be applied to gay marriage, being transgender, all that kind of stuff as well. If you're not hurting yourself or others, go nuts, you can do it. Right? So if someone says, that's why I've got a problem with religions that say, I pray, I follow the code of the religions, I celebrate these holidays, blah, 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 whatever. Go nuts, you do that. But fuck those gay people, by the way. That's when I'm like, right, no, you fucked it. Right, that infringes on the rights of other people. You're absolutely free to, have your religion if you want. But as soon as you start enacting parts of that infringe on another person's rights, that's when I've got a problem. right? You can't force that on other people. You need to respect everyone's individual liberty, no matter what you personally think.
Yeah, I mean, I always apply what I call the 4 walls rule, right? Which is, you know, if you've got a religion and you want to have those rules and beliefs operate within 4 walls that you control, be it your home or be it a church, where the people in it are, you know, you're in there, you know, through their own volition, and can leave anytime they want, then sure, you know, if you wanna fucking stand there and say to your wife, yeah, bloody gays, bloody gays, and you're in your own 4 walls, have at it. I still think you're a fucking idiot. But, you know, I guess it's your right to be an idiot, so whatever. But once you start saying, well, I feel so strongly about these rules, I want them to extend out of these 4 walls. And I want you to have to kind of fall in. I'm like, well, who the fuck told you that was okay? Imaginary Sky Man told you, did he? Because I'm gonna need a bit. I'm gonna need a bit more than that, I'm afraid. You know, it's and that's what I mean. Like, again, that's for me is where freedom of religion ends. Because I'm very much in the Hitchens and Dawkins kind of school and Sam Harris school of thought. You know, we need a new Enlightenment era, and unfortunately, one of the things we're going to have to leave by the wayside as we move on to our next evolutionary plane of existence is religious belief, because it's garbage, it's antiquated, it's beneath us where we are as a society and a species right now. We need to do all we can to kind of leave it behind. But you know, for those who aren't ready, here's what we're going to do. You got your 4 walls. You got your 4 fucking walls, and just have at it, right? But just leave the rest of us alone. Like that's all I'm really asking for. Again, it falls into this idea. It's not that I want to oppress you. I just want you to leave me alone. I don't care if God has a problem when we mainlining heroin into my dick. I don't want to hear about it. I want to be free to fucking do that, because it's got fuck all to do with you, and it's got even less to do with some cunt who doesn't exist.
Yeah. You know? I think it's a case of, if someone wants to follow the rules of it, like, even though you get some people that say, oh, if I do this, I'll get into heaven, I'll look at them and go, but that's completely not fucking true, right? But have at it. You can do that if you want. You're your own free person, make your own decisions. Like, you're allowed to, you know, sort of critique it and say, well, I don't agree with that. That's not true. You're allowed to have your opinions about stuff like that as well. But if someone wants to personally believe it, whatever they can. Like, that's why I don't have an issue with stuff like that. But some of the stuff that I've seen as well, there was people that were saying, oh, fuck Ramadan, fuck all these Muslims, blah, blah, blah. I was like, how is a bunch of Muslims fasting a problem? No. How is that causing problems? Did you wake up, find out it was Ramadan, and it completely ruined your day? You dick. Like, that, like
there's going to be more sandwiches in Greg's now. Those fasting bastards.
The thing is, I've got Muslim friends and everyone as well, and it was the thing is, like, see how a lot of them are starting to become, see, because they're kind of younger, a lot of them are starting to become westernized. A lot of them kind of, I don't really believe in Islam or anything like that, but I won't tell my mum and dad that, like that type of thing. So see, whenever Ramadan like sneaks round, they're like, oh, fuck's sake, I can't eat. I'm not allowed to eat and all that, and they hate that. They pure hate it, but they go, right, whatever, I'll just go ahead and do it anyway.
It's meant to be healthy for you. You know, I should probably do it. I'm carrying a few pounds. I hate intermittent fasting's a good way to live your life, honestly. So, but look, I've kept you on for a while, and we haven't got to some of the stuff that I want to delve into. So you've hooked me with the sex with trans people thing. I've got to just ask you about it now. So yeah, go on. Let's you know, is that because apparently you said you're famous for it? In fact, a large portion of your audience know about this. Did you do a video? I'm obviously not of the app.
No, it was just about it. It was just because I used to say things. You've heard of the whole meme "traps aren't gay."
Yeah.
And it's sort of like a huge like joke argument that everybody has. Like, and I always say traps aren't gay though. And
but I'm in that school of thought as well.
Yeah, it's a case of like, I'll justify it and stuff like that, but people will get really angry, like, yeah, but you know it's gay though. It's definitely gay, and I'm like, nah, it's not, just to piss them off.
No, but here's the thing, maybe I am mentally ill then. I genuinely believe it isn't.
No, it's the thing is, as well as it is, I will say definitely, it's a huge grey area that is definitely open for debate. And like, but people will present stupid arguments like, oh, but if the penis is feminine, then it's not gay, and stuff like that. And everyone's like, but a penis by its very nature is not feminine and stuff like that. And
imagine having a discussion like this now in the booth.
Yeah.
Like Sam's fucking buckled, isn't he? No, but you know what I mean? So this is why I believe it, right? Because I believe sexuality is kind of determined by attraction. Yeah. So if you're attracted to men, you are gay. If you're attracted to women, you are straight. And therefore, if you are attracted to a person who looks like your gender preference and is transitioning towards becoming your gender preference, even perhaps as far as going on to have gender reassignment surgery, then what you're attracted to isn't the opposite to what you're usually attracted to.
Yeah.
But so therefore, I'm sure it's an argument many people have made, before. I don't think it's a great big revelation, but for me personally, if I look at somebody and I think they're attractive and they go, oh, I'm a transgendered woman, I'm a male to female transgender, and my brain is saying, well, they're still attractive. I don't think that suddenly makes me a homosexual.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm wrong.
No, it's like the whole thing is like with me, I'm attracted to femininity. That's what I'm attracted to. Right, so it's just a case of, the thing is, like, I wouldn't ever dare say it. I used to just sort of say it as first as a meme, sort of, yeah, I like traps aren't gay, just sort of like testing the water, and then because of that, I did actually get quite a large transgender following, and I did something stupid. One thing that you don't ever do is let the internet know about something that you don't like, and I publicly said something like, I don't like being called daddy. I hate that. I absolutely hate being called daddy. And I said it, and it was stupid for me to publicly say it because now a lot of the traps all call me daddy, and it just got to an extreme point where it's like, right, whatever, it's done. I just need to sort of accept that. But see, because they were all like saying stuff to me, and they were all like flirting with me online and all that kind of stuff as well, like I was just going along with it and everything. And see, because of all the stuff they were saying and everything, it made me a little bit more confident to admit to something like that. It's only just recently I have came out and went, I actually do kind of like traps, by the way. Like, it's just that.
It is so, again, I make no bones about it. I think everybody, if it's just sex, like, I don't get why people again. I'm a bit worried about people who are like really puritanical about it, in the sense that, oh, what you did that, did you? Yeah. People do all sorts of weird and fucking crazy shit all the time. What's wrong with it? It's sex across the fucking board is fucking weird. You just sit and analyze it. When animals come in and watching you have sex, I'm sure, with having a pug, I'm sure you've had that joy befall you, where the dog will be watching and, you're too into it to tell it to fuck off, so you just have to put on a show. God knows what's going through their head.
I think it's the fact is, as well as a lot of people seem to want to like pigeonhole sexuality and like put. I don't. Again, now a lot of people will say like, gender is a spectrum. It's not, right? But the fact is, see, sexuality, that I would argue that sexuality would be more of a spectrum. I don't think that you can get, absolute gay and absolute straight. It's kind of like, let's get into science here, absolute hot and absolute cold. Like, there are people that will have sex with men and women. There are people that will only want to have sex with a certain type of woman or a certain type of man. I mostly have sex with women, but now and again I'll fuck a man and stuff like that. But I don't think, see, if you start to like classify fucking all of that, you're going to have, a million fucking sexualities, just the same as we've got millions of genders right now and everything. So that's the area where I was going to say,
it stands to reason if you've got unlimited genders, then sexuality is just kind of defunct now.
Yeah, it's a case of sexuality is now so fucking broad that to try and classify it would be stupid. Right? You'll be there for fucking years. Man, it's just a case of... It was the same as, see the way that, I can't remember, I think it was ancient Greece, where bisexuality was just the common thing.
There's a saying, I learned about it at university because my girlfriend was a classicist, my girlfriend at uni. I used to go to her lectures rather than go to my own because I was a media student, and it'd just be like, I don't really need to be there. It's like it's a seminar on The Simpsons. I think I'll be all right. But anyway, I went to, went to this one. I can't even remember the name. It can't have been Herodotus. It feels a bit too silly for that. But they read this thing, and there was a quote from Greece. and it translated. It meant a woman. It said a woman for show, a boy for sex, and a melon for pleasure.
Yeah.
Right. So they were even fucking fruit.
One thing about the ancient Mediterranean people is they were dirty bastards. By the way, they were a mucky bunch, like when it came to sex. But the thing that I thought was fucking hilarious is, see if you were just gay or just straight, that would get used against you in Parliament. Like, the people would say things like, "How can you trust this man when he'll only have sex with women?" Like, what a dodgy cunt. Yeah, exactly. Like, it was just the fact is see, when it comes to sexuality, see, to me, it's not a big deal. I've had friends come out to me going, "I'm gay," and I'm just like, "Oh my God, I don't care."
Yeah. Like, my God. Really? This changes nothing. Fuck off, you idiots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
It was like the thing is, like, my cousin came out as gay, and when he came out as gay, I just went, I know you're gay. I've known for years. I knew before you, right? So you can't imagine how much I don't fucking care. Like, that is just like, it's the fact is, like, see, if I find out that a friend of mine has sex with other men, that has zero effect. It means if we go out drinking and I'm looking at everyone in the pub, I'm like, have more for me, mate. Like, you're not competition for the females anymore. That's what's in my favour. Like that type of thing.
I'll tell you, as I got older, and I became sort of less and less interested in just looking after myself. I was more interested in booze and drugs and whatever. And there's a bunch of genetic shit that goes on as you descend into your mid-30s anyway, right? Like, your metabolism just stops. It just can't be arsed anymore. I used to have a wonderful head of hair. That went as well, I guess. Eyesight goes, so now I've got to walk around with a big pair of fucking Bose Selector glasses stuck to my face. So you think to yourself, what else is life going to take from me? At least I got a winning personality. I'll be okay. But what I noticed was, for some reason, among gay men, chubby bearded guys are quite prized by a particular subsection of gays. Yeah. So what I realized was, as I became more and more repellent to women, more and more guys were hitting on me. And at first I was like, nah, soz, mate. You're barking up the wrong tree, like trying to be a bit, machismo about it or whatever. And now it's like, it's so welcome. It's just so political. I just leave a gay guy on all night. I don't give a fuck anymore. Like, I just want to feel something. I just want to feel something. I'm dead inside, and I just want to feel something, So
that's the thing is as well. I find this quite weird. Like, I've got a lot of gay friends, and I've got transgender friends as well. I don't know why, but among the gay community, I think it's masculine men are quite prized. I don't know why. It's not even just the big bearded guy. I think that's like the far end of masculine men. But like, apparently, see me, because I've got a deep voice and I'm a bouncer and like all this kind of stuff as well. Like, for some reason, they're really into that. I don't know why. But for some reason they like it. Well, by the way, they do, because they know I hate it. Like that, I should never have made that public. Honestly, man,
gonna haunt you for the rest of your life. It's also, if you have children, it's gonna ruin the experience for you.
Fuck.
Think about it. Your daughter's first word is now forever fucking tainted. What should be a treasured moment? Dad. Right? Yeah, you killed it. Sorry, love. I'm done.
That was like the thing as well. Is like, see for me, like, sexuality is such a non-issue. Is like, everyone was saying like, oh, what if you had a gay child? I know exactly what I'm going to do when I have a gay child, right? Because I have a plan for how I'm going to act as a father. Like, see if my kid comes into me and goes, "Dad, I'm gay," I promise you that I will respond with, "Hi, gay, I'm dad." Like, I plan.
Been dying to get that one in.
I absolutely plan. And see how you get the dads that make the cringy dad jokes, and when they drop their kids off at school, they're leaning out the window shouting, "Bye, I love you," and all that kind of stuff, just to embarrass the kid. I am going to be that dad. That is the dad I'm going to be. I'm going to embarrass the shit out of my children. Oh, man, like, that's my plans.
So hopefully you're a while off having kids, yes. But let's talk about gainful employment, because one of my favorite video of yours, it's not the one with the pug. Found that a little bit evil, actually. No, I'm kidding. I thought to myself, what hateful monster would do this?
Yeah.
And it really put me off. But no, it's the one about call centers.
Yeah.
And this is why I've had a bunch of absolute shite jobs. I mean, the worst jobs going. And the ones that fucking made me absolutely determined to try and make a go of what I do today and, you know, be a journalist and a broadcaster and that kind of thing were the call center jobs. They were actual fucking hell on earth. And I got a million stories, but I'd never seen anyone on YouTube talk about the bullshit training process, you know, where they give you all the jargon and all of that, and they make you feel like you're learning a trade and you're super special, and they promise you, you'll never have to work a weekend, and just non-stop lies, just total lies, because the trainer is typically someone that used to be on the phones, and then because they got a high enough call score enough times, they were deemed worthy by the company to train the other people that come through. And I eventually worked my way up to a manager's job in one of these places and became part of the problem. But just again, for people who haven't seen the video, tell us about the misery of a call center.
A call center, like I've someone actually came up with a term, and I think it's hilarious: call centration camps. And I was like,
you might want to avoid that for the next month.
Yeah. But it's a case of, like, they'll try and lure you in, and sometimes the money can be quite good. A lot of them are minimum wage. I would never do a call centre for minimum wage, right? But some of them do offer quite good money. But the thing is, it is the easiest job to get for someone that is unskilled. Well, in fact, the way Scotland's going right now, there are a lot of skilled people that are in unskilled jobs because there's just no jobs going. We need a bunch of baby boomers to start dying. But it ended up like a lot of people work in call centres, like almost pretty much all of my generation, the generation before me, work in a call centre or have at some point. And it's the way they're herded in like cattle. They're rushed through training. You learn about 1% of what you actually need to know to do the job, and you're just thrown in. You are given a kind of a grace period of about 2-3 weeks where it's okay if you make a mistake. It's fine. We'll help you through it and stuff like that. But then after about a month, they turn into absolute monsters. They try their best to achieve absolute perfection, like absolute perfection, and it's a case of see what they put their staff through and trying to achieve that is an absolute nightmare, to the point where so many people have become managers. Like, see, to be a manager, you need to have people skills, and these people have no people skills. A lot of them are just clearly, they have a hard on from being in charge.
Oh yeah,
like, that's it. I've had a manager who I think used to skip to work in the morning with a big smile on her face because she knew she was going to give me into trouble. Like, she just gets so excited, like, whenever she got to give me into trouble.
It's utter madness. I mean, like, even just the mechanics of how they all work are fucking insane. So first of all, in training, what I always found when I was on the phones, you'd come out of training and you would have learnt one system, and then they'd go, we're transitioning to some new software, so we've got a legacy system you have to use for some accounts.
Yeah.
And they never tell you about it in training because it would be some old shit like they'd programmed on a BBC Micro, some fucking garbage, right? And just numbers on a fucking screen would just blow your mind. Whereas like most modern software would at least have some visual UI component for picking up the call or not. So you sit there with your headset on. They have the open plan desks, which they use to fucking perpetually spy on everyone, even to the point of, in many call centers I worked in, team leaders, they would be called, because they didn't want to give them a management term. Yeah. So everyone gets abused. You know, even the manager. You're not a manager, even though you're managing everything. You're a team leader. You just lead a team. I'm a manager. You're a leader, okay? So they would walk around patrolling and make sure you didn't have a customer on hold or whatever, to get some precious relief from just enforced conversations with morons. And a lot of the time, the calls are completely like people have called in and said, I thought I was getting a refund on my bill. And you'd be like, oh, well, do you see the bit where it says refund for next month? And it's got a plus next to the number. Yeah? It'll be on your next month's bill then, won't it? Oh, yeah. Sorry. That's your call. And then if you don't do the full call dialogue, the script they give you, they mark you down for that. So even though it's a moron call, I could be done within 30 seconds, and they want you to have a high call volume, I've still got to go, hello, welcome to Shit Company. How are you today? Or can I take your name, please? Or sometimes it's, hi, my name's Richard. May I ask who I'm talking to? And you've got this set dialogue that you're not allowed to deviate from, no matter what's happening. People in floods of tears calling you up because they think they're going to get their electric turned off. You're having a nice day today, because it's in the fucking call script. And if I don't say it, I'm going to get marked down. So complete insanity like that. But I think the thing that offends me the most about how call centers work is they're not even consumer friendly. They train me to get you off the call as quickly as possible. And they have these special numbers to give out to customers. And I'm amazed there was never an investigation into this, because I don't know a call center that doesn't do it. What you do is they call you. You've got, say, 8-minute max call time.
Yeah.
And it's clear that this is a clusterfuck. It was fucked before you got there. You can always tell the ones. They start with a sigh. Can I take your name, please? Because they've had a million calls and they're trying to document everything. Yeah, you're speaking to Richard. May I ask who I'm speaking to? Here's my account number. They don't give you the name back. You bring up all their details. I just need to take you through data protection. And then they say, can you check the notes? And you go, no one's left any notes on this. Sorry about that. Can you just give me the story again for the millionth time without killing yourself? And they tell you and they take you through it. And then it's clear that it's fucked. It's like they wired me up to the wrong fucking power grid and I can't get my bills. And now I'm being told I'm going to be cut off and I'm going to be left without electricity. And I worked in a lot in utilities, you know? Yeah. And you go through it. And then, right, your 8 minutes come up and the leader comes behind you, the glorious leader.
Yeah.
The tap. Right? Or sometimes they even come in your ear. I'm listening to this call. Can you wrap it up, please? So what we do is we give the customer that's called in a number that brings them right the way back through to the call center, but it's not the number they called. And there's multiple ones of these. And what you do is you say, call this specialist department. It's not. It's the exact same queue with the exact same numbers. And I'm just getting you off the call so I can keep my 8-minute KPI, you know. Yeah. They're fucking garbage, mate.
It's the thing is that they've set these targets, like I said earlier, they've set these targets to try and achieve perfection, but all these things do is they are an absolute detriment to the staff and the customer. And as well, it's all about getting these fucking targets. That's the main thing. The managers are just targets, but some of them are they're just not even realistic. It's like when this customer calls through, you have to ask them how their day was, ask them for their full name, do data protection, run through their problem, which is a case of how long's a piece of fucking string. That could take fucking 30 seconds. It could take an entire hour. You need to offer them a credit card or loan, see if they want to open a new account. Make sure you ask them how their day was again. Like try and build rapport. Do this, do that. But if you could do that all in 3 minutes, that'd be fucking perfect. Hold on, fuck you. That. No
How
way.
about I just take responsibility for fixing the problem? How about that?
But
they won't let you do it.
The thing is, though, it's now got to a point where, I call them out on this. It's a kind of shitty thing to do. See, whenever I call through to a call centre and they're like, "How's your day going?" You don't care. Like, you've just been told to fucking say that. It's the fact is that, see how the rapport building, everyone knows that they're forced to do that. So see, the fact is that when customers call up, they know it's not genuine. They know it's fake. That doesn't do well for the customer experience. It kind of makes you look like you're being sly. Yeah. Like, that's the thing that annoys me. But I have a lot more that I could discuss about call centres, but I really need to take a leak.
Oh, right. So, do you want to take a piss and we'll reconvene and close out the show?
Yeah, no problem.
It's good for us because we can spam some ads to the people on that.
No problem. That's cool, man.
All right, cool. Yeah, well, I'll let Sam do that. You can hit it with some ads. You go take a leak. Check that butter's okay, and I'll see you in a minute. All right, welcome back. So we have urinated, micturated. We're all good. So yeah, I was saying just to get your worst horror stories about working in a call center, because again, you touched on some of them in the video, but I imagine there was some maybe you couldn't. Or it didn't seem appropriate, or it might have ruined the mood. But you talked about people having like emotional breakdowns. That was consistent with my experience as well. Yeah. So what was the worst day? What made you realize I could never work in a call center again?
It was more of the case. It's something that I already realised, years ago, but I had no choice because it was the only type of work that was actually available to people. The ones that I've actually worked in, I'd say probably the worst one was HSBC. I'm happy to name and shame them. HSBC had I think about 36 different targets, and you could make 35 out of the 36, and you'll get pulled away to one of the wee side rooms, and you'll be spoken to because you didn't meet that 36th target. It was just completely unrealistic, and they have a massive staff turnover. That's a sign. See if a place of work has a huge staff turnover, as in lots of people leave, that's just evidence that it's a shit place to work. Right, it's the case. HSBC used to paint it as, oh, it takes a special breed to work here. Our staff turnover's so high, it's like the Marines, only 0.1% of people qualify for this. It's like that. It's because the job's shit. People leave because the job is fucking terrible. And it's the case of, like, a lot of call centres these days are minimum wage still as well, but it's a case of all that's going to do is encourage people to get a minimum wage job that requires the least amount of effort, and I can assure you it's not a call centre.
Definitely not.
No, but it's like one of the worst incidents that I've ever had is when I was with HSBC, I was a struggle to pass calls because there was so many little check boxes that you had to tick, and it was really easy to fail a call. And there was one call where I proper hammered it. I made sure to offer relevant products. I did everything to the letter. You had your scripts. They called them their procedures. Like, you had the whole script and everything, to work through. And I did everything spot on. And I actually failed the entire call because I didn't ask the customer how their day was. You didn't build rapport. And I was
like, build that rapport, mate.
Yeah, but I was like, I'd nailed everything. Customers aren't phoning up to make a fucking friend. They want their problem fixed. Like, that's all they want. And it's a case of, I totally fixed the problem. I offered the relevant products, and it's like, yeah, but you failed the whole call. Sorry. Like, fucking that bullshit, man. It's just, like, I said it in my video, they expect perfection, but deliver shit. Like, I have seen people break down at their desk crying on several occasions, girls running off to the toilets to cry and everything like that as well. And it's like, even things with breaks, I've been pulled up for being like 20 seconds late back from my break because everything that you do, every call, every break, every toilet break, everything is calculated down to the second.
The toilet time is what fucking blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like, a world where you're timed on how long a shit takes is it's bonkers to me. It's completely fucking insane. And I hate that. I hate the way that from the moment you go into the building, like you say, every moment is calculated for. It's got to be at optimal efficiency, or we're going to apply like unbelievable pressure to you. You take you into disciplinaries, all of that stuff. I worked my way up to being a shop steward for a union to represent people, because the bullshit grounds that we were using to fire people in one of the call centers I worked at as a manager. And we even created a system where we brainstormed the system, and it was called like the Home Support Scheme or something. And it was for long-term employees who had high number of sick days.
Yeah.
So some were piss takers. Absolutely. But some people did have health problems. Some people were alcoholics, whatever. And we would go out and do home visits unannounced.
Yep.
We would drive to their house and we would knock on their door and then say, "Oh, we're here from work to help you." And I hated it. I hated every minute of it. But my manager used to take me out. So we'd go to someone's house. I mean, just to get in. And it'd be, "Oh, you're off with a bad back again, are you, love? Well, what's wrong? What are you doing about it? Tell you what, can I help you with the ironing?" And it's like, I'm doing one of my employees ironing in their house because my manager wants to spy on them and see if they're really ill. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I've seen that. Like one of the places I worked for as well, SSE, again, happy to name and shame. They actually have their own department designed to spy on people via social media to make sure they're not lying about anything. There was one girl, what it is they use it to collect ammunition. See how if there's someone who isn't meeting their targets or anything like that, they can't really like fire them for that, or if they have depression and because of that they need to take a lot of time off. There he started again.
Yeah, it's good. Sorry.
Calm down. Right, no, but it's like what they'll do is there was one girl who I knew and she wasn't meeting her targets. She was struggling and they wanted rid of her, but the targets weren't a good enough reason. So she uploaded a Snapchat that had a swear word in it, But the problem is, see how your lanyard, your wee thing that you use to scan and get into the building, she had that on in the picture, and they said, oh, you sent a Snapchat out of you wearing your lanyard and swearing, you're misrepresenting the company. But all that was, like, I knew for a fact they wanted rid of her, and I just know that, see, when they seen that, they went, yes, finally, we've got something.
Yeah.
Get her out. Yeah. And everything like that as well. And I've seen that. There was one girl who they actually managed to push into leaving because she had depression. They actually pushed her into leaving and all that. What they'll do is if your face doesn't fit, you're gone.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
It's a case of even if you are doing your job and you are somehow meeting all your targets, see if a manager just has a dislike of you, they will abuse that power to get rid of you because they don't like you. Like one of the call centres that I actually got fired for this. It was a B Cogent. That was called B Cogent back in the day, but now it's called Teleperformance, and it's still a fucking horrible place to work. I worked in AOL, and I actually got promoted to a team leader. I worked for AOL when broadband was released. That's how long ago that was.
The golden age.
We were sitting there like that. We got pulled in for a meeting when it dropped, and we were like, 512 kilobytes a second? That's insane. Like that. That's amazing. Like that type of shit, right? But what happened was the whole department got outsourced to India 3 months after I got promoted. I was like, what was the point in promoting me? So that I could be a team leader for 3 months. So I moved to other parts and I ended up becoming a techie in another part of the building. And what happened was there was a girl who kept infecting the system. This was like a third time, because you can identify the source PC that it came from, right? And back in the day, before MySpace, like the one that was popular in Scotland was called Bebo, right? And you could download little glittery things and all that to put on your Bebo profile. So she was going onto these sketchy sites and downloading just absolute crap onto the computers. And this was her third time, and I went to her for the third time and went like that. You have now done this for the third time. We now need to shut this down and wipe it. Like that, because you have done this again. I was off the computer because it's collecting information, the thing that you've downloaded right now, right? Get off and everything. And she went to her manager and all this type of stuff, and basically made up stories that I yelled at her, I screamed at her, I was swearing at her, I was acting aggressively and everything, and I got fired just for me 2 weeks to find out 2 weeks later that she was sleeping with a manager that we were dating.
There you go.
Yeah,
classic, man. And here's the thing: like when I was doing it, I thought that was fucking egregious. You know, the whole, going out to the house and just this weird lack of separation between work life and private life that wasn't happening anymore. You know, it was the lines were blurring.
Yeah.
And now it's like you say, the idea of routinely spying on someone's social media so you can penalize them in work is mental. I have no idea why this is allowed legally. None at all.
I don't know if you're aware that a law has actually just been passed that gives a person the legal right to actually wipe their social media from before they were 18. Because when you're young, you post some fucking stupid shit online, right? Or
yeah, of course,
you could be my age and posting stupid shit online. But I think it's a case of, because employers are going on to see if they've got someone, before they'll even consider them for an interview, they'll find them on Facebook, right, to make sure, like, oh, what is this person like? And if it's, you see, one thing that I don't do is I do not list my employer on my Facebook. Yeah. I don't say who my employer is or who I'm working for, right? That's separate. But it's the fact is that employers were actually, instead of just, inviting someone to an interview and taking them at face value and learning about them, they would go on social media and make the judgment whether or not they would even get an interview based on their social media. Yeah. Like, that's how bad it was. And it's the fact is as well that a lot of the stuff that people do in their personal lives, like, gets dragged out into the public. Employers use that as things against them. Again, it all rolls back to company image. I mean, yeah, but
in America, this is par for the course now, and it seems crazy to me in a country where freedom to expression is protected on a constitutional level, that it's okay for a company to basically offer you a job based on what you do in your spare time. And the idea that somebody is out there, like, looking at your Facebook, and people, no one in America cares about this. They always say, "Oh, you shouldn't have posted it. You probably should keep that stuff private." Like, technically, it is. That's the point. It's a social media network for me and my friends. That's what it's meant to be, not me and potential future employers. You're not fucking welcome at the party. You're not. I don't want you looking at the time I fucking, did a bucket hit of fucking crack cocaine and fucking spewed in a bathtub. My mates filmed it or whatever. That's for me and my mates to have a laugh at. It's not for you.
Yeah. That was the thing. That was the thing as well. It's obviously very public that I smoke weed. I
had no idea. I'm like your gay cousin now. I know.
but it's like the thing is as well is I don't actually drink. I very, very rarely actually drink. But the fact is that a lot of people would use the fact that I smoke weed. A lot of employers do use the fact that, you smoke weed. Even in states that it's legal, you're still not allowed to have a job if you smoke weed. But I have this absolutely amazing technique of I don't smoke weed at work. Like, that part of my life, I wouldn't drink at work. I wouldn't drink before work. I wouldn't smoke weed before work or smoke weed at work. I think that's the most you can expect from someone who actually does. It's a case of if someone's on the premises smoking weed, then fucking whatever. You need to give them into trouble for doing that. But it's a case of if someone smokes weed in their spare time, but they're not bringing it to your business, then it's none of your fucking business. Like, leave them alone to fucking do it. That's
the point, man. I mean, like, I still remember the days of the afternoon pint. You could have a job, and at lunchtime, back when you used to get a lunch break.
Yeah.
You see, you used to actually get a lunch break, a 1 hour long lunch break when I started working.
Yeah.
Gone within 2 or 3 years of me being in the employment market. Gone. Yeah. It's now 30 minutes and it's regulated. We wonder why we got a fucking obesity fucking problem in Britain and America too. Well, here's a 30-minute lunch break. Good luck with that. You got to go to the closest place. It's always a fast food joint because they're specifically set up to be that way. You got to come back and eat it, or gobble it down. No time to digest your food, and then straight back, sat down at your desk for 8 hours.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, like, see how a lot of people sort of whinge about, are you tired of doing the old Monday to Friday 9 to 5? I would suck a dick for a Monday to Friday 9 to 5. Those don't exist anymore. It's always on Monday you're a 2 till 10, and then on Tuesday you're a 5 till 9. Wednesday we don't need you in, but we're probably going to phone you on the Tuesday night and ask you to come in. Like, all that type of stuff as well. Shifts are all over the place, and you're working upwards of like 9-10 hours. We're actually at the point in Britain where if you work less than 40 hours a week, you're considered part-time. Like, that's how insane it's got. But one thing that we have no shortage of is these 0-hour weekly rolling contracts.
They're fucking despicable, man.
They're an absolute nightmare. It's the fact is that the Tories are allowing this to happen. It's the fact is that they've totally cut loads and loads of benefits. You can get sanctioned from the job centre for being 5 minutes late for a meeting, as in you're not going to get any money for a month, therefore casting people who are already in poverty further into absolute poverty. Then you've got these people with the 0-hour weekly rolling contracts who earn minimum wage. It's absolute shit crap wage, and they could be sacked at any time for any reason at all. But the Tories are sitting there scratching their head like, why do we have so much poverty and crime like that?
I can't see what the problem is.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you what, though, I don't know if you were around at the time it was happening, because I'd worked my way up a little bit so I could sort of cheer about this, but obviously it was a big deal to a lot of people, and I suppose a shit job is better than no job. But when the call centers got sent out to India, there was a big deal about it. If you want to talk about mad dystopian nonsense that was going on, because I was like a manager, they were like, "God, do you want a job in India?" Right? And I was like, "No, I went there. It's not for me." Like, and they would go, "No, but it's mad money out there. Like, you would control a whole call center. You'd be living like a king." And I went, "Nah, King of India's all right. Someone else can have that." Anyway, I got took through some of the fucking training methods that they have out there, and because people used to complain, and I'm sure some of them were bigots, just didn't like hearing a foreign accent, on the phone, and I'm sure some people probably weren't in a position to offer customer service in a foreign language effectively, because I couldn't imagine, I can get by in German, but I couldn't imagine being in a fucking German call center trying to eine Minuten, you know what I mean? Like, they would fucking do my head in, right? So anyway, what they do to help build that rapport is they give them, this is absolutely true, they used to give them the weather forecast for England or Scotland or wherever, you know. They would give them major talking points from all the soap operas. Yeah. So when you were on the phone, you know, you would have this guy in India, and they would also assign them fake names. Because if you were called Rajesh or something, and you know, people, is this an Indian call center? And they'd immediately go mental. So it'd be like, oh, hello, my name is David. What about that Phil Mitchell, eh? And you've never watched EastEnders in your fucking life. You're reading it off a sheet of paper. I've seen stuff like that happen before as well. Like the thing that bothers me the most is like see in India, like they're going to take those jobs. Like the thing that I don't like is, is this through in India? I'm sick of speaking to these Indian people. Oh yes, how dare Rajesh try to feed his family? How dare he? How dare he benefit from an economic boom that we would love in our country?
Yeah,
the new industry came in and offered jobs to everyone who was impoverished. Wouldn't that be great? And we went back to the days of zero employment, like the back end of the 70s. Wouldn't that be fucking awful, eh?
Yeah, you know? Exactly. It's just a case of like, fuck you. He's going to work. He's going to pay his way. Like, it's good that he is working. It's good that he is earning money. Right? Just fucking deal with it. Like that. Like stuff like that does annoy me as well. Like it's just.
I don't get why people are upset about it, but when that happened and they were moving them out to India, that was like just dystopian nonsense to me. Like, you know, we're going to teach a bunch of people in India. You know, we're going to give them just enough skills they need to do this job that we've got. The only other thing of any benefit we're going to give them is EastEnders talking points. So some cunt in Newcastle's not going to get all upset with the fact that you might not be, you know, from England. Ridiculous. But look, as I said, I did want to hit the downslope of the show so I can let you go and get some rest. So I've got to talk about shit jobs, just shit jobs in general, because we talked about call centers. Worst job I ever had, and some people who watch the stream regularly know this, is that I worked on a farm and I had to kill chickens with my bare hands. Had to break necks, snap necks, and then give them to a guy who used to do the guts. He would, you know, put the knife in and flick them out like that. Rip all the feathers out. So that was garbage. That was for like £3 an hour or something.
Fucking hell. So
whenever I say to myself, I fucking hate YouTube, me. Like I think I catch myself. You know what I mean? Like, there was that time. You had to kill. So what's the shittest job you've ever had?
It's like, the thing is that it probably would be a call centre. Like, it would be the call centre jobs just because of the way that you were just treated. You were just treated as subhuman trash by the customers and by your manager. Like, it was a case of, like, managers, I've had very, very few managers that I have got along with because I have this really, really bad penchant of calling people out in their bullshit and everything. Like, if a manager tries to push something that I can see right through, I'm like, that's not why you're doing it. This is why you're doing it. And they didn't like that. They didn't like me turning around to everyone and going like that. This person's lying. They weren't a fan of that. But like, there's been some jobs I've had as well. Like, obviously, I've been a bouncer and I've worked in security. There was one time that I actually did retail security. It's always
shoplifters.
It's always a lot of fun rolling about in the ground with a junkie. Like, it's great fun. But there was the thing that made the job worse was my manager. He was the worst person I've ever come across in my entire life. He had me doing something like 70-hour weeks for minimum wage, where I would do about 13-hour shifts, 14-hour shifts, you know, from like open to close for this store. They opened at like 8 in the morning, they closed at like maybe 10 o'clock at night. And I was spending that entire time walking without a break, right? And see, when you're walking or standing in the same position for hours and hours and hours on end, and then when someone steals something, you suddenly need to run after them with these broken, fucked up, fucking lactic acid filled legs, like trying to run after.
Did you have to wear smart shoes as well, though? Probably.
Oh yeah, I had to wear smart shoes that were no good for running in at all, chasing someone down the street. But it was just the way he treated me. Like, see how then UK law, you need to give someone at least 11 hours between a shift. Right, so what he would do is he would have me working from like 8 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, And then he would go, oh, you're doing the nightclub shift tonight as well, because I was doing bouncer work then as well. And I was like, how am I supposed to get from Glasgow to Cumbernauld and in less than an hour to start this shift? Figure it out, right? So I would go there and I would do the shift until 4 a.m, and then he would expect me to be up at like 9 o'clock the next day to like go do a shift. And if you turned around and went, that's not enough time for sleep, you need to give me at least 11 hours between a shift. Are you spitting laws at me? Are you spitting laws at me? And I'm like, what the fuck? There was one day where he wanted me, he would always say, oh, I'll give you these days off and everything. Oh, you're working Monday, Wednesday. Yeah, they're 13-hour shifts, but you can have the Thursday, Friday off. He would always, what he would do is throughout the week call you, oh, can you do a shift this day? Can you do a shift this day? Until you look at your week and you're working every single day. So like any days off he gave you were completely fake, because he would try and take them off you any chance he could. And there was one day I couldn't work because I had a doctor's appointment. I went, I'm sorry, I can't come in tomorrow. I've got a doctor's appointment. He then demanded I tell him what it was for, so he could decide whether or not it was important enough for me to be missing work. And I was sitting there like, you are an absolute psychopath. You are a lunatic.
Piles.
No, but
septic piles, all right.
Here's the thing as well. What happened was I just went, fuck this. I'm leaving this fucking company. He had me working every day. I had no time to do anything. It got to the point where, because of the shifts I was working, my girlfriend, because of her shift, she goes to bed very, very early. So it got to a point where I was literally just going home to sleep next to her, and then I was even up before her to go straight back out and work. And it got to a point where I didn't even have time to have sex with my fucking girlfriend. And that's when I went, nah, I'm leaving. This is fucked. I phoned him and I says, I'll work these 2 more shifts for you, but I'm gone. I'm leaving. And then what happened was, while I was in the middle of doing the first of my final 2 shifts, one of the other guards who worked in a nearby store made sure to come and visit me and go, he plans on not paying you for all your owed wages, by the way. He said that. He went, so you're as well walking out. So I phoned my boss up going, so you're not going to pay me? And he went, I never said that I would pay you. Even though I actually have a recording of the phone conversation, because I knew he was going to be dodgy. So see, in the phone call where I quit, I recorded the conversation. So I've actually got him saying he would pay me and everything, right? And he went, no, I'm not paying you. And I went, well, I'm just going to walk out of the store just now then. Also, we never get pay slips, and all our money was cash in hand, but he assured us that our taxes were being paid. He absolutely assured us, and ended up, I just went, right, fuck this, I'm leaving. And what happened was, I built up a good rapport with everyone in the store that I worked in. I went to the store manager and went, just to let you know, by the way, the guy that you actually hire for security is an absolute criminal. He dodges taxes, and this is what he's been doing to his staff. And then I left, right? But he owed me about £600 worth of wages that he refused to pay just because I wanted to quit. That was probably the worst experience I've ever had. Yeah.
What a fucking pure cunt he sounds like.
Yeah, he was horrible.
I had a bit of a weird experience. I used to work for a company, it's defunct now, called Phones for You.
I remember them.
That was pure cunts. And I had to basically, people would come in and you had to get them to sign up to a new phone contract by any means necessary. And it had this weird system where for you to get a sales bonus, the entire store had to go over its target, right? And then that money was kind of like disseminated between the salespeople. So you were under massive pressure if it was the last few days of the month to like bang out just phones by any means necessary. And it wouldn't even matter if the contracts got denied. So let's say it was the end of the month and it took 3 days for them to realize that the contract was bogus. That money would only come off next month. So you'd be starting at a deficit, but you all would have got your sales bonus from that month, you see. So anyway, we had this process, and this is absolutely true. This is what I was trained to do. So what you do is, because I used to get them in and sit them down with the salespeople. I had some fucked up title. I can't remember what it was. Floor manager. No, it was something weird. It was more Orwellian than that. But basically my job was if someone came into the store, or even like I was allowed to go legally 1 meter outside of the store to grab someone, right? What I had to do was, and it was a script again. What you did, you went up to them and you went, "Oh, hi, I see you're looking for a new phone." And you do it that way because it's an assumptive, you're making a statement. Because obviously if they're in a phone shop, they are looking for a new phone. You don't say, "Can I help you? Are you looking for a new phone?" You say, "I see you're looking for a new phone." And then what you do is you quickly follow that up with, "Can I see the phone you have now?" and they take it out, and you go, "Can I take a look at it?" And you put it in your hand, and then you go, "Follow me." And now you've got their phone, so they got to fucking come sit at the table with you.
Oh my God!
And we were trained to do that, and obviously some cunts don't like that, especially where I was doing the thing. They'd be like, "Just give me my fucking phone back." Just give me my phone back, and you'd be like, no. In a minute, mate. Just relax. No, I want my fucking phone, man. And really upset, you know. Just come sit over on this table, and you'll get your phone back. Some of the shit, man. Script people punch, like attacking people and shit, was absolutely fucking mental. And the other thing we used to do was the rock and roll, where like you'd bring somebody in, and it was clear these people they were barely on benefits. They were slipping through the cracks of society. Yeah. And my manager would be like, well, if they're struggling to feed themselves and struggling to get benefits, I guarantee they haven't got a mobile phone contract. You'd be like, oh yeah, that's an astute observation, that is. Jesus. So what we were told to do, was if it was the end of the month and we needed to fucking get the sales total, what we would do is we would sit these people down. I mean, seriously, destitute, sometimes homeless people. We knew that this is all true. This happened. They would sleep round the corner.
Subways looking for buskers. You want to phone
they would sleep round the fucking corner in the boxes. I'd see them when I was leaving on the night out, bedding down, you know. And anyway, they go, Rich, go get some of the homeless. Oh, fucking all right. So we bring them in. We'd be like, oh, you all right, mate? Do you want a mobile phone? And they'd be like, yeah. Well, have you got one? You're going to just give me one. You gotta come in here, though. You got to just come in a minute. So we take them in and we'd sit them down. And you'd be like, have you got 2 forms of ID so we can run a credit check? Well, half of these cunts didn't. I mean, you know, they didn't have anything. You know, they're sleeping rough in a town in Britain. They're not worried about having an active passport. They're worried about eating. You know, so you would be like, okay, and they'd pull out like, you know, a grubby letter that they use when they go to sign on the social or whatever. You'd be like, okay, well, that's got an address in. Obviously, you don't live there because you're homeless, but it's all right. If you've lived there in the past 2 years, we can use that. And what else have you got? Is that yep, that is your photo. Yeah, you had teeth back then. All right, and we take it. And we would scan these documents, and sometimes they had nothing, they had dubious documents, or like I said, they didn't live at an address. And what we would do is on the paperwork, we would just my manager would just smudge the ink, so when it went to head office, they couldn't run the secondary credit check, right? And then what we do is we'd be like, right, what's the absolute shit? Because we used to have a cage with just all phones in. We'd be like, what's the absolute shittest phone? You know, like, but like, we would look, and it would be like, okay, so that's garbage. And the bad phones had the higher sales bonus because the networks and the companies that made them were looking to offload them. Yeah. So we'd be like, okay, we got fucking 50 Sony Ericssons or whatever it was, you know, we'll fucking go do that. So we'd give him, we give the homeless guy, here you go, you got a brand new fucking piece of shit. Enjoy. And they would take the phone, obviously, and like just go out, and we'd run the paperwork through. And the mad thing is that phone, I mean, they were probably going to sell it anyway. But what would happen is that contract would then get cancelled. We would be at a negative deficit, and they would start debt recovery proceedings on that poor cunt, trying to track him down in that.
Jesus Christ.
So this is literally, and like this was my manager's machinations. This is all like what he used to do. We had one case that went on for ages. It was something like 2 women who had literally just moved to Britain, and they'd come from Malaysia or something, came in, and at the time there were these things called Nokia Siroccos. Yeah. And a Sirocco was like the gold-plated ones with diamonds in. And these chicks just wanted a phone. So what would happen is you put the credit check in, it would tell you how much they could have. And obviously, they'd moved into a house where somebody lived who had an immaculate credit record. Because it weren't these people, because they just arrived. But the address was telling us, go, go, go. So one of the sales guys went, you look like a nice couple of ladies, like the party and all that. They're speaking to him in broken English. He goes, you never guess what you've qualified for today. this VIP premium phone. So he went up and he got these like 2 gold-plated Nokia Sirocco's, retailed at like a fucking grand with a, buying a brand new with a contract. And he fucking sat them down, and they were just like, "Oh, we like the Nokia 6310s. We've heard they're reliable and all this." Like, they don't need a gold-plated, fucking diamond-encrusted Nokia for no reason. But it was huge. It was Wonga for the shop. It put us way above our sales targets. He got a massive commission, so he signed these women up to it, right? But to be on that contract, to get one of those phones, you had to be like a business almost. It was like, 1 million minutes a month, and it was just something mad, like £400 a month bills. And he just didn't tell him that bit because he's like, "Oh, you get it free for 6 months." Didn't tell him about the next 12 that they were locked into,
Yeah.
So anyway, it went a month, it went 2 months, but then we saw these women come back and they'd brought back the phone and they were like, "We don't want to pay." It went, "Not my problem, love. You signed up for it. You knew what you were getting. I mean, do the phones, they still work, don't they, though?" And they go, "But we can't afford it." "Well, you should have read the small print." And they were just coming in the shop every day, like for months, just crying, trying to get them sorted. My manager was trying to be, "Okay, well, maybe if we downgrade them from the fucking scumbags, sales jobs." And like I said, that company, thankfully, they went under in 2014 now. But that was pretty garbage because I knew we were doing bad things to innocent people. But it was like, if I'd said anything, if I'd said, "Hey, should we not try and get a homeless person to a credit check for the 10th time this month?"
Yeah.
For a phone he can't possibly pay for. Shall we not do that? I'd have been out on my ass, mate. I'd have been fired. So
we had one of the places that I did work for, this was after, see how whenever the Nazi pug thing dropped, I get fired from my minimum wage call centre, which I can assure you was a blessing in disguise. I went straight back into security, and now I make the exact same money for just sitting on my arse all shift and watching movies on my laptop. But one of the places I worked for was a place called Money Station, which is like a pawn shop, right? And what you can do is, if you're in quick need of cash, you can go in with like an old laptop and go, "What will you give me for this? But I plan to buy it back." And they'll say, we'll give you £40 for this laptop, right? So you take the laptop, they have this whole storage area in the back of the shop where they'll store the laptop, and you'll go, "Pay us back in 1 month." And it goes, plus your interest. Say that they get £40, your interest is 50. So if you pay us £50, you'll get your laptop back. What will happen is, see when that person comes back in to pay the money for the laptop, and the thing is, remember, I was only in this place for 1 day before they realised who I was and fired me. So I learned all of this on my first fucking day. And they says, if someone comes back and plans to buy back the item, ask them how they are financially at the moment. Are you coping okay? Are you doing all right? One thing that we can do for you is, you can just pay us the £10 interest and keep that £40. And then when you're in a better financial situation, hopefully by next month, then you can come back in and you can pay it, and we'll give you your laptop back. But all they're doing is encouraging the person to just keep paying the fucking interest over and over and over again for this item. And it's a case of, when they come back in the next month, they're given the exact same spiel. They're given that exact same thing. So it's just basically, we're going to hold on to this item forever and just farm as much money from you in interest payments as we can. And we were told to do that and encouraged to do that. And that was on my first fucking day. Like that.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate those businesses for obvious reasons, like the way they profit on fucking out of misery. And a lot of times, because I used to do a lot of voluntary work with the homeless, and I used to listen to a lot of their fucking stories, and some of the stuff is just fucking unreal. And obviously, a lot of them made they would pawn things in pawn shops, and there'd be all these like awful stories, how like back when they had a house and contact with their family. I bought my son his first guitar. Well, I took it down the pawn shop. I meant to get it back. But then I could never afford it, and then they sold it, and they said they weren't going to sell it, but they said they'd had it too long. And my son hates me for it now. And you'd be like that business that just profits on fucking misery is like so fucking disgraceful.
Like payday loan companies as well. They are disgusting pieces of shit. They really are. They try and just capitalize on people's needs. And it's a case of the interest rates. The interest rates on some of them are insane.
We got the Provident in Wales. I don't know if they do that in Scotland, but they're the ones who come round and offer you like temporary crisis loans up to I don't know £3,000 or whatever, and the interest rates are fucking insane. Like, what do they operate at, Sam? Like, you borrow £50, how much do you pay back? Yeah, it's mental. It's mental. It's fucking mental.
Yeah.
Because like right now it's 112, and that's been lowered, so it might have even been like 250% for that.
Jesus.
Absolute disgusting. And again, like you said, when your entire business model is dependent on absolute misery of other people, it's hard to fucking look at it and think, that's. I hope they flourish. Hope you do all right. Hope Provident is all right. Hope Cash Converters does okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's, it's just see stuff like that. There are business practices that are just absolutely fucking disgusting. Like that's obviously a good example. Is that's how I have this huge thing where, see, whenever I walk into a shop and a salesman approaches me, I'm just like, that's plenty. Stay where you fucking are. Because I know you're not here to protect my interests. You're here to fucking make a fat commission. Right, go away. Everything as well, man. That's why it's just business these days just seems so disingenuous, doesn't it? It's not like the case of, remember how back in the day where companies that tried to push the whole "we're your friends" and they make the happy little jingles and happy adverts and stuff like that. A door-to-door salesman would come to your door and you would invite them in and be so friendly with them, and they would act on this whole fake friendship, but everyone sees right through it now. Surely they need to put that to bed. Same with call centres as well. How was your day going? Because, they care. Like, that as well. It just seems so fake. Now, people see right through it. Like, you're not here because we want to do a service to the public. You're here to make fucking money. Just at least be honest about it.
That's the thing. I think most people would respect you for it as well. The candor's welcome, isn't it? No one likes a line of bullshit.
No.
You know what I mean? So,
no.
Well, look. So we've gone all around the houses. We've tackled religion, shit jobs, sex. You've done it all. It's been an interesting show, but we should probably wrap it up. And again, I appreciate for your time. But just to say as well, I know you don't want to hype up. But the trial date, I won't give out an exact date, but we're talking roughly a month away, right?
It's at the end of July, yeah.
Okay. So, obviously, I know a lot of people who watch my stuff will be, keeping an eye on what happens. And will there be a way to sort of find out, like in real time, if you like? Because I imagine you can't do a live stream of it.
No, that's the whole thing. Is I know in America you're allowed to like film in courts and stuff like that. You're not allowed to film at all here, which is why we've got the court sketch artist people, because that's the only thing that's allowed. But I don't know if it's going to be an open court. The fact it's happening at Airdrie Sheriff makes me think that it's going to be an open court. So I don't know if it's going to be a case of as soon as the verdict gets read out, someone's going to run outside and be the first to tweet about it and stuff like that.
Well, I'm hoping it'll be you, pal. I'm hoping you're going to be the first to tweet about it,
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but like I said, I know it's a bit cliche, but try not to stress about it. At least we got to see something good come of it, in the sense that you're going to have the legal representation you deserve now, because you can actually afford it. And you were telling me about your lawyer before. He didn't even believe you'd raised the money, right?
No, he didn't believe it. He didn't believe it at all. He was sort of like, "Oh, how? What do you mean you've got it?" And I went, "It's the actual target actually got raised in about 8 hours, because that's how long we were on like Wizard Stream and everything." And I was even sitting watching like just donations rolling in and it just going up in the thousands, and I was just sort of sitting there like, "How the hell like that?" But I think I noticed for a lot of the donation messages that people seem to be donating out of a bit of fear. It's a case of, if it can happen to this guy, it can happen to me. And one of the comments even said, "We need to nip this in the bud right now." Yeah, like that. Yeah. So So I'm totally blown away. With appreciation. I'm trying not to come across as soppy. I don't want people.
You know
what I mean?
I get it, mate. But everyone's rooting for you. I haven't spoke to anybody that thinks this is fair or just or reasonable. You know, and that's saying something. So honestly, I've got to have confidence in the law, and while I think the legal process has failed you, I've got to believe that the court won't, because that's what makes sense. And as I said, you can see, you know, a lot of my mods and stuff were over there as well. They would, if there was ever a reference you didn't understand about esports or whatever, that was one of mine. That's what they're into. So, but look, I wish you all the best, and I like I say, I'm 100% convinced that you are going to fucking beat this, and justice is going to prevail, because I believe when a judge looks at this, he's going to think, what the fuck is going on, you know? And yeah. So again, thanks very much for coming on the show, and everyone who watched, thanks a lot for tuning in. If you're watching this on the VOD, be sure to show some appreciation to Count Dankula. You can see his Twitter there. Make sure you get along and support his work, because he does do great content, and it's a slice of life content from working class Brits. You won't see a lot of stuff like that on YouTube. You know? While he's telling you about the horror of working in call centres, what microphone should I buy with my money? Right, you got real fucking problems, man. So he really is a great content creator, and like I say, show him some support. If you're one of the people who donated as well, you know, from me, I'm sure from Marcus as well, you know, fucking thanks very much. And until the next episode, make sure you all take care of yourselves. We'll be back with the Richard Lewis Show in a few days. Until then, look after yourself, and we will see you soon. Ta-ta.